Well, hello and welcome back to Lorehammer. My name is Eric.
Welcome, Eric. Hey, I'm Mark.
And we are Lorehammer.
Perfect. What an intro. We did it, boys. With us, we got Peter.
Hello. Peter, it's been a while since you've been here.
That's true. Glad to be back
Welcome
with
back.
you guys.
I'll put all the cheering in. Yeah, there'll be like a big soundtrack announcing your arrival and everything.
Now get the booing pulled up because
I got
we
the booing
also
ready.
got Christian.
Boo! I'm just kidding, Christian. I love you. It's because every time you come back, we tell you, "Don't worry, this is your last time." And it always brings him back. He's like, all right, I can do one more.
I can do one more for you guys.
I literally crawled out of bed for this.
Well, today is episode 92.
Ooh, yeah.
We are getting scarily close to that 100.
The
100.
inbox is filling up with what we should do, and they're prompply deleted.
I run my own show. Ideas.
Yeah,
for sure. Which is why most people don't do community-run stuff.
So it's like you don't do internet polls. You're not going to get a good name.
But we do that, though, as well, don't we?
Oh, my God.
What have we done?
Oh, my God.
Today's episode, 92, is all about the Carcharodon Astra.
Yeah, the space sharks. So, you thought I teased you guys last episode.
I mean, I definitely thought Mark was lying.
You think I wasn't capable of doing back-to-back Space Marine episodes, but I'm growing as a person. So...
Join me as I grow and change into someone who loves Space Marines. But before we actually get into the episode, we got a couple things we want to talk about first, and really one of the only things is Discord.
Yeah.
If you aren't on our Discord, first off, what the heck are you doing with your life? Get on the Discord.
They might be outside, which I've heard is...
But the crazy thing is you can be on Discord while outside.
Okay, well then out of excuses.
That's right, yeah.
Okay.
No internet?
If you need reasons to hang out on the Discord, look no further because we've got 4 right here. Number 1, painting contests.
Ooh.
You need to be a Patreon member to be on the painting contest, but just as an example, we run them every month. Last month was a 2-color painting contest, so everyone was just asked to get whatever model you wanted and pick 2 colors, and you just had to build everything from those models on 2 colors.
Yeah, very cool.
And it's very cool.
Yeah, some interesting results. So you can use black, white, and then 2 colors.
Yeah, and then you pick 2 other colors, and you mix them however you want, and then you build the model. And there's some really cool stuff out there that people did.
Yeah. So, you can enter that. You can get prize money. We give out GW gift cards, I believe.
Yep, to first and second place.
But, so that's...
Yeah, so
pretty nice.
If you want to participate in contests, whether it's, it's normally painting, but we also do modeling, converting, story writing.
Whatever.
Yeah, drawing maybe. I don't know.
Yeah.
Hang out there. Another one, events. If you're looking for something to do, you should come and hang out with us because we have weekly stuff running all the time.
Yeah, sometimes they're painting events. Sometimes we watch some TV shows, but whatever it's up to, it's usually pretty fun. We get some giggles going.
That's the most important part of it, is it not? Just the giggling?
Yeah, some brotherhood, some bonds.
I mean, Christian is giggling just over there.
No, that's not my real giggle.
Is that your customer service giggle?
Yeah.
Like, oh, you're very funny, sir.
It's the 8th time I've heard that joke today.
So you should come hang out in our events that we do.
They're very fun.
Another one, we have the Necromunity, which is, if you don't know, we're recreating the Necromunda book.
Oh, that's not what I thought it was. Do you ever get unsolicited members to the Necromunity?
I'm a little nervous
This is not the group I thought it was. I'm just going to back into the bushes like Homer Simpson.
But if you had that thought, well, let me tell you what it actually is. We are recreating the Necromunda idea and building a planet from the ground up ourselves. And everything from place like...
topographical features all the way to flora and fauna.
Exactly. And habitating it with people and histories. So we're just coming up on the end of June. I think this episode is going to be released on the 30th. And June was all about flora and fauna.
Yeah.
And so we had some really, really cool stuff in there.
Yeah.
One of the animals, I made this one, and then it was crazy. 5 people immediately after that were like, cool, there's this animal, mine interacts with it this way. And mine lives off of that animal.
You
and
know how
here's
every
a plant
animal
that it
shits?
eats.
Yeah, mine
also shits. It does that, yeah.
Yeah.
But what's neat is that almost anything that you write is going to find its way into Necrommunity somehow.
Yeah.
And so it's really cool because we're planning on making this book and trying to publish it so you can buy it and play in this world. So if you want to be participating in that, hang out, check out our Necrommunity portion. It's awesome.
Yeah.
Okay, and if you needed more reason to go join it, next month is gangs, and people love talking about gangs and all the cool little
We love
things
gangs.
about them. And I don't know. People are really excited to like give their gangs flavor and history and write like the rules of initiation rites and all that jazz. So
Yeah, all the fun stuff.
oh my god. Okay, one more.
Okay.
LTL.
Yeah, Lorehammer Let's Talk. Let's Talk Lorehammer.
Yeah, it's the podcast based around effectively our community.
Yeah. So this month they are they take suggestions and then they pretty much do episodes on it. So this month they're doing relics. So send in or create your favorite relic that you've made for like your Space Marine chapter or Craft World or whatever.
Yeah.
Do you have some crazy star cannon? Who knows? Let them know.
Unfortunately, submissions are going to be on the day this episode comes out, the deadline. So you're not going to be able
Well, then just private message me.
That's
I'm
right.
still going to read it.
Send
It's
it to
gonna-
Mark.
Yeah, exactly. I'll enjoy it nonetheless.
Yeah.
But yeah, LTL is one of the best ways to get involved in the Lorehammer community. It's easy, fun, and Matt's also really cute. So that's a
It's just a little bonus.
A little bonus for you guys.
Because you get to video chat Matt and hang out with him. So
And since the podcast is almost entirely community driven through submissions, you guys can help actually make the podcast. So without the help, the podcast kind of just is like Matt and Dylan, like just kind of making dick jokes, which is fun. It's fun, but you know, the submissions are what makes it unique.
yeah.
So
look, anyone can do dick jokes. Watch,
exactly.
penis.
See,
Exactly.
two laughs.
We got 2 giggles out of that. Yeah.
Okay.
Peter is too good to laugh at those kind of
It's
jokes.
fine. It's fine. He likes it. He thought of
What
one.
did I just laugh at? No.
It just took a minute.
And the final thing before we get into the episode. Okay. So crazy thought. I get a lot of messages about, hey, did you know Henry Cavill plays Warhammer and you should reach out to him? And it's like,
we
dude,
didn't know.
Yeah, and also like I don't have his cell phone number. But here's the plan. Like,
If we had Henry Cavill's cell phone number, do you think we would still be talking to you?
I'd be hanging with him right now.
Yeah. Dude's into horses and stuff. I've seen his Instagram.
But basically, yes, we know he plays Warhammer. We would love to try to get him on the show. Now, this is a crazy pipe dream, but basically my plan is he's got an Instagram account. You can message his Instagram account.
That's right.
So message it and just say, you should go on Lorehammer 40K. It's a podcast. Go join it. And maybe if enough people message, he'll see it. He'll come on. Who knows? Could be pretty neat. You know,
We're sticking our hand into the black hole right now, and we're hoping that when we draw it out, it's attached to Henry Cavill's beautiful Superman face,
and not just
and not a cease and desist letter from lawyers.
Yeah. But either way,
We're
It's
gonna
a
pull our
50-50 shot.
it's unfortunate because this is going to be really for years. Henry Cavill's now going to get
That's
bombarded by email messages.
He's gonna be like, guys, I did that 5 years
So
ago.
let's get on that. Let's try to make that happen. That'd be incredible if somehow we got that to happen. We could hear about his armies. We could hear about his lore. Who knows?
How long? Yeah, anything you want to hear about Henry Cavill's Warhammer 40K experience, we also want to hear about it.
Yeah.
So help us, help you,
Help him.
help him
Exactly.
share his story of 40K.
Exactly. So seriously, go message him on Instagram saying go join the show. But
Yeah.
anyways,
Wow.
I'm ready for the episode. I'm excited.
Whew. It's 2 Space Marine episodes in a row. We did think that would cause the universe to explode. It hasn't yet, so
But it's
fingers
still on the
crossed. Yeah.
Well, let's see how Mark's doing by the end of the episode.
Yeah.
The table's flipped. like-
He just starts twitching. He's crawling on the roof.
I'm
Okay.
excited.
Carcharodons. Carcharodons Astra. Astra Carcharodons.
AKA the Space Sharks.
Ooh.
AKA
the Sharky Boys.
I've never heard that one. But
car keys.
Oh, okay.
that's our word. You're not allowed to use that.
The Toothies.
Uh-huh.
The Sharp Tooths. Yeah.
Finnies? I don't
Okay. Finnies.
Yeah. I got nothing else. I'm out of shark related.
The no sleepers.
Like this is
Sharks
where
don't sleep.
Shark facts.
Okay.
Let me pull up my. Hey, Jamie, if you could just pull up a Shark Facts on.
Sharks will kill you. Okay, there's shark fact.
Well, let's start a Space Marine episode the best way we know how, and that is with a quote written by someone else. And so, the gray-clad came from the outer night, and their jagged maw did swallow the stars, and their black gaze did mirror the void of oblivion. Their pale shadows fell upon the servants of the Scald One with great fury from the darkness, unseen as the beast that lurks beneath the black waters. Death for death, blood for blood. Thus were the sons of Sanguinius bought respite, and did turn back upon their pursuers, and so were the damned traitors of the false gods driven unto their ruin. And that is a canticle of Cassandra Lev.
Cool. Yeah. So the picture, we just gotta just drive this home. Just whenever you hear us talking, just picture sharks in space floating through the dead
They're
boys,
dead.
their
Circling.
dead cold eyes.
Yes.
Yeah, and now just put
Smelling
that.
the blood in space.
Now just put that in power armor.
That's
so
right.
Keep that image in the back away, tucked deep back there.
Yeah, there's nice power armor surrounding their tails, their
Yeah.
powerful tails. Power armor helping their gills to breathe more water.
Breather gill.
Space water. Have you guys ever seen the show Street Sharks from like the 80s or 90s? Yeah, that's what I picture. Just bulked up, super muscular sharks in space. And it's perfect.
Holy moly.
Yeah, you got to see the Vin Diesel commercial where he has the space sharks or the street shark puppets on his hands.
I've definitely seen these images, but I've never watched the show. They're just wearing jeans and they have a
It's
shark
a little less
head.
protective than power armor.
Yeah, but the
It's what I'm
mentality.
thinking of,
It's
yes.
a lifestyle. Really.
Shark life.
Yeah, shark life's a thing.
Well,
We're going to start off with their history, and we're going to start off with the Solar Rebellion. So the first recorded event of the Carcharodons, potentially, is
Yes.
M32.
and it happens actually in two separate instances. Presumably, the first mention of the Carcharodons was in the Solar Rebellion. During this uprising, some 100 systems across the western segmentum solar experienced a drastic increase in cultist activity, behind which were the Iron Warriors, Night Lords, and World Eaters. So that's like really fresh off the Horus Heresy.
Yeah.
I can't even remember when like Gilliman made the Codex. It had to have been.
It was
in that.
like recent, like 100 years after type
Okay,
the
so
heresy, but
This has been a minute then since that.
Yeah.
Okay. It was only through the combined effort of several Astartes chapters that entire sectors were saved. One imperial source even claims that the Angels of Death descended from outside the galactic plane itself, though this was not widely acknowledged as truth. There were several well-documented chapters that participated: the Minotaurs, the Death Eagles, the Angels of Absolution, and the Carcharodons.
cool. And they just descend from the galactic plane
Yeah,
to do battle.
it's the idea of things existing outside of the galaxy is very cool.
Yeah. We'll get more on that and potentially how that all works.
It's
but,
definitely a theme.
yeah.
It's the circling waters, the shark
Yeah.
waiting and watching and everything. So
Yeah.
we're definitely going to come back to that.
40K does have a lot of like oceanic illusions and stuff too when they describe ships and like travel and all that too. So it's cool. Like it adds to that like
Yeah, I don't
monsters
even-
in the
yeah.
deep seafarer
Yeah.
shanty tales like
I don't even know if that's particularly like 40K exclusive. A lot of
They lean
people,
heavily
a
on
lot of
that.
people
Yeah.
make like similar allusions from space to water. And the idea is that like,
Right.
oh, you're an
Sci-fi in
explorer.
general.
Yeah,
Yeah.
you're an explorer on the water. You were sailing the seas. Now you're
Ships.
sailing the void.
Stars.
You know, yeah,
Sailing the Sea of Stars.
that's right.
Sailing the
Sailing the
stars.
stars, the star sea,
Okay.
the sea stars, stars.
sea stars.
Sea,
Now you're making stuff up.
Susie sells sea stars by the sea store.
Yes.
Is that not-
Carcharodons.
Carcharodon.
Okay, so the next incident we have with them is the Astropath Wars, and this is in M32. So while the Solar Rebellion has given no year within M32 since the Astropath Wars take up the latter part of the millennium, we assume that the Solar Rebellion is a precursor to it. Very little information is given about the Astropath Wars, though it is assumed to have been involved, the Astropath, somehow they were warring. We don't quite know, but we can guess. And it began in 888 M32, ending sometime in early M33. So fragmented data scraps and information leads most Imperial scholars to believe that the Carcharodons were involved, though we don't really know exactly what they
Yeah.
did, whose side. probably they was,
Unfortunately, like a lot of the things in 40K, if it's not, Horus Heresy or in 40K, there's not a lot of information about it. I think Astropath Wars is one of the few. It's just like a single line
Yeah.
on a timeline map, and all it says is Astropath Wars.
yeah.
And then there's one other mention of like, oh, Carcharodons were at Astropath Wars. So, like, we have no idea what any of it was, but it was there. So
It happened.
We included it. All right, so next we have the War of the False Primarch.
So their next recorded engagement was in 830 M33 during the War of the False Primarch and the Pentarchy of Blood. The war began in 780 M33 and overtook much of the Segmentum Pacificus. There exists only scattered truths and misspoken facts about the war itself, though it wasn't until the Pentarchy of Blood that the Astartes' presence was requested.
So they weren't even actually, they didn't participate even in that war, technically, until this Pentarchy was like, hello, please, Space Marines, come do your thing.
And then they just finished it.
Yeah. We're going to find out.
Well, it was 50 years after the beginning of the
Spoilers.
war that the High Lords of Terra established the Pentarchy of Blood, a temporary organization of 5 Astartes chapters created to destroy 11 other chapters declared Traitoris Perdita by the Council. The members of this Pentarchy were Red Talons, Death Eagles, Carcharodons, Flesh Eaters, and the Charnel Guard. And the names of the 11 chapters that were destroyed and they had their homeworlds burned aren't listed. We don't know who they are, but they're traitors, and they deserve no recognition from us or any sorts of reports.
Yeah, we keep that chaos
Tight on the lockdown.
Yeah, exactly. The less people know, the less they're likely to try and find out.
Yeah,
So-
keep
I
that
mean-
shit in the eye of terror.
Anytime that you've got 5 chapters defeating 11 chapters,
Yeah.
they probably don't want their names to be known.
That's just embarrassing
Yeah.
for them. Yeah.
It's described as they just go from like world to world, just one at a time. Like that homeworld's next. Okay, so all 5 chapters just descend upon that one world.
And it sounds to me like they just devour
Yeah,
everything
yeah.
in just a shower of blood.
If you know some of these other ones, like the Charnel Guard is a pretty bloody name.
Flesh
Red-
Eaters.
Yeah, Flesh Eaters is a very good example. Like they
Yeah.
even kill their own like allied guardsmen and shit. So I'm sure it's a very brutal war, this one. Yeah.
None of these are like, oh, we're Imperial Fists, and we like to perform tactics in a very simple and great manner. No, these are like, hello, yes, maximum bloodshed, please.
Yeah, blood for the blood. I mean, Emperor protects.
Wow. Oh, and then what's crazy is, so that was M33, and the next time we're going to see them is in M37.
The 7th Black Crusade, M37. While the Carcharodons did not participate in the lion's share of the fighting during the Crusade, it was their fleet that harried Abaddon's forces from the planet of Macan. This may have prevented Abaddon from performing even more sacrilegious acts upon the loyalist forces that had died there.
Yeah, it looked like he was kind of trying to set up even more just rituals and, spells and sacrifices to the dark gods.
Was that the one where like that was the Blood Angels were involved and
Yes.
like they made the planet rivers of blood as is tradition for them? Okay.
Yeah, the Blood Angels were definitely there.
Okay. So they came in and just
Yeah, it looks like they did.
it up.
Like it said, they didn't do the lion's share of the fighting, but they kind of finished it off and chased them away
yeah.
back into the.
Nice.
It's kind of crazy how little you actually see a presence of the Carcharodons
Yeah.
throughout the history. They've been around for a long time.
Yeah. You just can't record everything. I'm going
Of
to chalk it up
course.
to
Well,
that. But
of
I'm going to
course.
use my imagination. I'll come up with 37 other events that they've participated through, and I'll email
Some of them
it
were
to
more
you.
peaceful.
Yeah, some of them are.
I would like that.
yeah. Okay.
I would like that.
I think it just fits with their whole idea of being space sharks. Like
Coming from the
a shark
darkness.
isn't going to just show up all the time you're in the ocean.
Only when there's worthy prey.
That's right.
Oh.
But when it does, it's noticeable. Stuff happens.
And so in M41, they make a bunch more appearances. So one of them is in 211. The Carcharodons help defend Explorador fleet from Orc terror ships. We don't know much about that, but
Yeah.
There's a lot there though. Orc terror ship.
I tried to see, what is an orc terror ship? Is it different from like their regular
regular
stuff?
orc
And
ship?
unfortunately, I couldn't really find
Damn it, 40K.
anything.
Now-
I
I do this
know.
all the time.
Now, I know, though, about the Carcharodons. They have a crazy fleet, and we're going to talk about some of the capabilities of the fleet. So this battle would be crazy, though. They got some truly spectacular and unique weapons.
I think that the imagery of the Carcharodons,
Yeah.
it really suits itself to space battle.
Yeah, and it
like
just descends and rams other ships and just, like...
yeah, all you have to do is think about how like sharks hunt and
You ever
how
seen
they
a shark?
attack. Yeah,
Now put it in space.
Okay, so Colin, if ever you listen to us, Colin, count how many times we say the word shark. Enjoy.
How many times we compare Carcharodons to sharks?
Okay, so the Battle of Zartak.
Here now we're
is-
getting into some meat.
Yeah, this is the next time they show up, and this is in the 800s. A prosperous mining planet whose main export was adamantium. The ruling class of Zartak once decided to overthrow their loyalist ruler and secretly succeed from the Imperium. After years of missed ties, the Administratum sent a fleet to the planet, which disappeared.
Classic.
Yeah. Then they sent out a second fleet, this time armed, couple guns to find out what happened. It was after the first fleet, but the second one only arrived
But before the second
Oh,
one
sorry.
arrived.
It was after this, but before the second one arrived, that the Carcharodons appeared in the skies above Zartak. Instantly fearful of their lives, now that the Astartes had arrived, the Zarkanians prepared an ambush for them. It was only thanks to the precog powers of Carcharodon librarian Tay Kahurangi?
Kahurangi?
Yeah, that the ambush did not destroy the Astartes force, and then began a brief but intense war that mainly took place through tunnels and mining shafts on the planet.
I love the imagery of Space Marines just running through tunnels and just like dead,
Yeah,
dead. Just clearing tunnels
Yeah.
as they sweep through it.
And I like to think it's like dark, and you just see like their lenses in the darkness.
And all you hear is just
yeah,
as they pound themselves through it. Oh,
Yeah,
that's
Oh.
lots of what's that show? The animated.
Astartes?
Astartes, yeah.
No, it's very similar.
Yeah,
How like they're
instead
running
of space
through the
corridors,
ship.
yeah, exactly, just
Yeah.
blasting through tunnels.
Eventually, the Carcharodons found the imprisoned imperial governor and her grandson, freed them, wiping out the ruling faction, and restored power to her after having renewed her oath to the Imperium. So, they did the right thing. They gave power back, okay, to the people. Perfect.
Well,
No, back to the ruling class.
To the
Ruling class.
previously
Yeah, yeah.
oppressive ruler.
Well, as all things should be.
in 40K.
It was then that they informed her presence on Zartak was unrelated to her rebellion, that their presence. So they came to this planet. They're like, we actually weren't here for that.
Yeah. They're just like, this is
just a side
this is a
quest.
side joke.
Yeah. And then, in truth, they were there to perform a Red Tithe. And every single remaining inhabitant was taken by the Carcharodons, emptying it of life. And we're going to talk about that. We'll tell you what happens to them later. So...
It literally, they
That's
show
nice.
up. They're like, hey, you're not supposed to be in charge. They reinstate the previous ruler after wiping out the military force, and then they say, yes, thank you. Come with us.
Now that we know who's in charge here.
We'll be taking a tithe.
So when the second Administratum fleet eventually arrived, all they found was an empty planet. And so it became a penal world, repopulated so it could continue to mine. So they just found new populations.
How many times does it happen in 40K where hey, we just don't have any communication from this planet. Let's go see what's going on. And there's no life. And previously, last time, there was billions of people on this planet. And all we see is this crazy bloodshed everywhere. And they're like, well, shit. Let's populate it again.
At least they left the mining equipment.
Yeah, exactly.
Oh, my goodness.
The pics are still good.
The idea is just, how many times, where do they file that? What category is it looking for? I'm looking for planets that previously had unexplained losses of all life. Yes, here's this 500 planet list. Anyways.
And then they just grab a whole population from somewhere else and
some
jail.
hive planet.
Jail.
Yeah.
Yeah. I'm sorry, it's illegal to breathe. We're going to have to take this population off planet.
Round them up and set them to work.
So that's nice. They're there to help you, but not really.
The next time we see them is in the Badab War. And this is like this is their time in the spotlight, really.
Yeah.
And the Badab War happened from 901 to 912 in M41. A little bit of a disclaimer. This is not a Badab War episode.
Yeah.
And we're going to skip over like 98% of the entire war because it's very like well documented.
Yeah. Tons of different interactions. So we'll just focus on the ones that our Sharky boys were
Exactly. We're only going to talk about the space sharks.
Yeah.
So, arriving in 910 M41, the Carcharodons quickly became a byword for ferocious, vicious, brutal warfare, supplanting the previously titled Minotaurs. And we talked about that just in our last episode about them. While their initial entrance was viewed with distrust, they were given the Endymion cluster to handle, which they set to with a passion. They went from planet to planet, scorching the earth, tearing down strongholds, and massacring the, quote, traitor population.
Crazy.
This cluster had initially been under the dominion of the Mantis Warriors chapter, and they could not stand idly by while the space sharks pillaged and plundered. This was exactly what the Carcharodons were hoping for, and following a number of brutal assaults, the Mantis Warriors surrendered to the Sharky boys.
Nice. They did it.
Yeah, it was around this time that the Fire Angels, which was a loyalist chapter, grew so disturbed and disgusted with the Space Sharks' methods that they withdrew from the Badab War. And they also had, lost a bunch of guys.
They were just sick of it.
Yeah, exactly. They weren't at fighting strength. They couldn't really contribute. But then the final straw, that they were just like, oh, we don't like this. Like, we're out of here.
Yeah. So it's crazy. So there's a lot in there of just talking how fucking good these guys are. We talked in the last episode about the Minotaurs and just how they were like the preeminent Space Marine versus Space Marine fighters in probably the galaxy. They're up there for sure. And these guys come up and they just like, no, we're definitely better, more vicious. We're better than you. They made a reputation fighting other Space Marines, and they're crazy.
Yeah, the whole idea of them going to this Endymion cluster and like scorching the earth behind them, like, sure, they believe that they're doing the right thing because, hey, this is a traitor population, so they need to be purged.
But are they really?
But at the same time, they're like, well, actually, what we really wanted to do was draw out the Mantis Warriors.
Yeah.
And, like, what better way than to destroy everything you care about? Yeah. What's crazy about the Carcharodons is you will see that they just don't give a shit. They're just going to do, like, you give them the order, but they're like, we're going to decide how this happens.
And there will be blood.
Yeah. There will be maximum blood. As much as possible. Because of their effectiveness in eliminating the Mantis Warriors, but, not entirely happy with how they did it, Commander Carib Khaln gave the Sharks the responsibility of attacking the primary infrastructure of Badab Primaris, which was the major hive city.
Yeah, that's like the leading force's stronghold.
Yeah. While other forces and chapters maneuvered on other fronts on the planet. So they were like, you guys get the main front, and we will handle the secondary objectives and stuff. In true savage fashion, the Carcharodons destroyed the reactor cores of the primary hives, setting off a chain reaction that saw the destruction of Badab Primaris.
Ah, yes. Okay.
In the chaos of everyone attempting to flee the dying planet, many loyalists were caught in the devastation, and the Star Phantoms chapter hold a grudge against the Carcharodons to this day, who they see as at fault for all the needless Imperial loyalist deaths. Apparently they lost a lot of their members just in like the destruction that they caused.
Yeah, like they were sieging a fortress, so everyone's forces were there. And then
it also kind of mentions that the planet itself went under like traumatic changes. Like I'm assuming maybe earthquakes.
Yeah.
Maybe like volcanoes. They're like disrupting the core or something. Like they really did a number to this planet. Oof.
But tell us more. What happened?
Well, they also participated in two other known but not dated battles in the Badab War. So the first is the engagement on Fulcrum 4 or C.
Okay.
And no information is given, but they were there. And then another one is the Siege of Endymion Prime, and that's where the Fire Angels and the Space Sharks fought the Mantis Warriors. So that one is probably where the Fire Warriors Fire Angels, oh my god, saw firsthand the brutality of the Carcharodons.
Yeah.
And I feel like it takes a lot to force another Space Marine to be like, whoa, that was too much. Like... They're pretty savage all around. So
We try to keep blood splatter to a minimum around here.
yeah,
Please.
Hey, I don't know if you know, but this is going to be a lot of paperwork if there's just blood splatters
lot of
everywhere.
cleanup.
Yeah. And we told Jerry he could have the night off. So please
There'll be no-
tone it down.
There will be no blood splatter if you just nuke the city.
Hey. When the Badab War was finally over, the Carcharodons returned one last time. Because, they didn't mess it up enough the first time. But they returned one last time to the Endymion cluster to thoroughly ransack the fortress monastery of the Mantis Warriors for gear, munitions, valuables, slaves, serfs, ships, anything.
I heard you got things.
I want those things.
And so not only did they take the things, but they also took the people. They emptied it, and in the same way that they did their Red Tithe of Kartak, they took the Red Tithe over here, and they said, yes, you will make a slave, and you will make a serf, and you will be an initiate and probably die.
We're just gonna eat this one.
Yeah, this one's dinner.
food.
So. Whew.
That's nice.
And that was their involvement in the Badab War.
They basically showed up, made a brutal reputation for themselves, blew up a planet, pissed off some loyalists.
Pissed off some loyalists. And then we're like, yo, peace out, dog. And then, wait, never mind. We forgot stuff. We're coming back. Hey, they're like texting the other chapters. Did I leave all those people there? Oh, I did. Oh, I forgot my tide. Yeah.
Hey, when I do that.
There was still stuff there for me. Holy smokies.
That's nice.
All right, Peter, you got the next one?
Unknown year in M41. This is presumably after the Badab War. They defeated a Gene Stealer cultist infestation on the Shrine Worlds of Piety V, or Piety 5, with the help of the Ashen Claws.
Yeah. And the Ashen Claws is another kind of like well-known, but their history is a little unknown, kind of mysterious even. So there's a lot of chapters that we've been mentioning lately where things are kind of up in the air about them. Like the Minotaurs, their history is weird and convoluted and not entirely laid out in stone. The Carcharodons, there's like weird timings and naming conventions with other established chapters.
Yep.
And the Ashen Claws, they have a weird history. It's all I'm saying is coincidence. I think not. Anyways.
We are doing a Tales of the Warp at the end where we will be talking more about all these kind of Gene Siege shenanigans and whatnot.
Yeah,
so.
and the Ashen Claws, I believe, are going to be mentioned specifically.
Yeah, we'll tell you more details about them.
Hold on tight.
Hold on tight. Up next, though.
But, come on, Peter. You got the next one, too. We're not going to give him just one line.
All right, let me tell you about the Great Rift. There's a notable lack of activity by the Carcharodons during the 13th Black Crusade and the Great Rift, even though following the formation of the Secatix Maledictum, they were granted the planet Uthica, formerly the fortress monastery of the Mantis Warriors.
What a coincidence.
So they go back.
Own planet.
They go back to the Endymion
We forgot the
cluster
building.
one more time. Yeah.
Yo,
I'm taking this.
All I see is it's a very Futurama vibe where they just come, they have a ship and they just wrap a net around a planet and they're like, this is actually ours as well. But yeah, then they get Utheca, which is kind of neat.
So to add to this confusion, there is no indicator that the Space Sharks have laid any particular claim to this planet at all and appear to continue operating as a fleet-based chapter, patrolling above the galactic plane, searching for prey to consume. So they have a planet, and they just don't use it.
It's kind of crazy. Like
they're saving up for the Red Tithe.
the energy prices on that planet are disgusting. It just makes more sense to be a fleet-based chapter. It's fiscal responsibility is what it is.
So their only recorded activity in recent history is their victory over the World Bearers on Budor 5 during the Indomitus Crusade.
And that's their history.
Yeah. They show up, they circle, do.
All their ships have a fin on the very top.
Dude.
Ominous music plays when you're the
Over
other
the
side.
loudspeaker.
Yeah.
No, they like jack into your frequencies and they play the Jaws theme as they're coming for you.
Yeah.
Whew.
Couple strong themes though. Like, yeah, they really don't like to stay in one spot. They just kind of go where they want to go,
Yep. And
appear where they want to appear.
I mean, the idea of like not staying in one spot and constantly moving, that harkens right back to the shark theme.
Yes.
You might have been able to pick it up, and it also might not have been, but the way they engage in warfare itself is also very shark-like, and I believe we'll get into that
Lots
later.
of biting.
Dismemberment of limbs.
Very sharp.
Grab on. Don't let go.
I think we get into it later.
Yeah,
right?
we do.
Okay, so
Yeah,
I'm not
we
going to
do.
mention it now,
Yeah.
but like the theme is really well done. I think. I don't know. I like it.
I'm
Very
a man for
strong.
a strong theme, for sure.
Yeah.
I'm a sucker for
I'm
it.
a sucker for a good theme.
Yeah.
Whew. All right, next up, Christian, what do you got for us?
I have Founding and Gene Seed.
Ah.
The Carcharodons are a mysterious and enigmatic chapter of Astartes, having forged themselves in a dark and bloody legend in the minds of those that survived the conflict known as the Badab War. Nobody knows exactly which Primarch's gene seed led to the creation of the chapter. Even the sharks themselves don't speak of it, while the opportunities for outsiders to study their gene seed organs is exceedingly rare.
Yeah, I think most chapters don't openly invite inquisitorial scientists
Yeah.
or administrative
You know what?
people.
I would also say, though, that some do. It really depends on the chapter culture. Some are
Who
very...
would you say does?
Scorpions.
Like, yeah, Red Skull. Like, they're proud even of their purity.
Genetic purity.
And they're
constantly
like,
getting
they're showing it
tested.
off.
Okay.
Yeah,
right?
you don't. Come on. You think we couldn't just name one off the top of our head?
Can you name another one?
Imperial Fists.
Boom. You think we couldn't just name these
Having
things off the
having
top?
had to rebuild their chapter
No,
from the vaults
okay.
repeatedly.
I think that's different though, because everyone knows who the
my
Imperial
my,
Fist
my
father
point is, it just depends on the culture of the chapter.
Like,
that they're so different, they're so varied. Some, lots I'm sure are independent and free. Some refuse people to look into it, and some
Yeah.
people are totally open books, and they're like, you know what?
All right, okay.
That's
I
just-
sit
that's all I'm
corrected.
emphasizing.
But the sharks, they don't care, essentially.
Yeah, it doesn't.
Like, they don't care who they come
Right,
from.
yeah. It doesn't seem as much of a secret to them as much as
Like,
I don't care about
okay,
it. Yeah.
yeah.
And like, there's no need for someone to look into it. So
Yeah.
why are you looking? Yeah.
Yeah, but
I don't know, you
isn't
sound
that
awfully
what you
guilty.
say when you don't know? I don't care who my dad is.
It doesn't matter.
Oh no, and they're violent because they're just having daddy outburst issues. They need a hug and a dad.
just like the Minotaur's psychologist.
No.
These guys just need a father figure. Nobody. Did I read that already?
No, you're on point
3.
3.
There are two main thoughts about the origins of their gene seed, but first we will talk about all the genetic markers and differences that the gene seed implanted in them causes to their bodies. The appearance of all Carcharodons shares some singular details. They all have grayish pale skin with an almost death-like pallor. Some of the most venerable and ancient Carcharodons have liquid black eyes without iris or sclera. Beyond this, however, there are no common phenotypes amongst encountered Carcharodons.
Yeah.
They don't have the bone spurs or burst into flame or anything like that. Yeah.
Yeah.
It's interesting that they're super pale and have very black eyes. Like
Gray.
full.
Almost like a shark.
Weird.
Is their skin a little rubbery?
Peter, can you please knock off the shark references? It's getting a little heavy-handed.
Is there a Carcharodon fin soup?
Only made with the choicest of Carcharodon flesh.
I keep rereading stuff, sorry.
0.5. All good.
We do know that their gene seed is prone to degeneration and mutation, however. We are unsure if they still have all the gene seed organs or if millennia of genetic drift have set their gene seed on its own unique path.
Yeah.
Well, it's hard to know exactly what it was at the beginning if you have no idea where they come from.
Sure.
So,
But yeah.
Unless they have always been. I know this is going to come up later, so just keep that in mind. They look interesting. The Carcharodons are an insular and taciturn bunch, and this only becomes more pronounced when they are amongst other space marines. If a Carcharodon were to lose his grip on sanity, these traits would likely amplify with unpleasant results. When the chapter's genetic curse manifests itself in an affected battle brother, it comes on in 3 stages.
Cool. Before we get to those 3 stages, let's unpack this a little bit too. We had genetic curse in quotations. Like, we're gonna talk about like more personality, cultural traits, like stuff that isn't genetic, but people like to confuse these things. Like, I don't think they're angry and grumpy because they have the genes yet. I think that's just their culture.
Yeah, something
Right.
that is like
Cultivated.
cultivated. Yeah,
Exactly.
like a cult.
Yeah. This is from Fantasy Flight Games. These three different cultivated.
I just made that connection.
These are from the Deathwatch Fantasy Flight Games book, which is a good source, but
Yes.
like, yeah.
Do we think that every single
Carcharodon.
Carcharodon like has to suffer from this?
Because of genetics?
Right. Yeah.
No,
Not
I don't think so.
necessarily. Yeah.
But carry on.
Me? All right. Stage 1. Coldly formal. The Battle Brother withdraws even more from the company of his colleagues, taking refuge in a chill and formal demeanor. In addition, the Battle Brother tends to speak almost entirely in High Gothic when addressing a non-Carcharodon, although they can, grudgingly, speak in Low Gothic if need be.
I imagine like they're talking with some official and they're speaking in High Gothic and the guy's like, yeah, I don't speak High Gothic, please. And the Carcharodon's just bulldozing right through, refuses to change. He's like sharing tactics and what his plan is, and nope.
Nope.
And then in Low Gothic, just like points like we kill, but like lays out this massive battle plan in like High Gothic. Yeah, that's interesting too. That they're quiet and reserved, typically how sharks are emotionally depicted.
When was the last time you had dinner with a shark that you were able to say, "Oh wow, you were so quiet,
Quiet.
and reserved tonight"?
So coldly formal.
I don't know.
Will you please speak in a language I can understand, Shark Boy? Please.
I didn't go to your fancy shark colleges.
I don't speak shark.
Shark Latin. Right. Stage 2. Merciless. The Battle Brother does not tolerate any enemy, whether Xenos, heretic, or even fellow humans who may have been misled into rebellion against the Imperium's rightful rule. The Battle Brother grimly executes any opponent he encounters, even if they have surrendered, possess valuable intelligence, or are not frontline combatants. Not just the men, but the women and the children.
But the women and the children.
Stage 3. Silent as the depths. The Battle Brother withdraws almost entirely from interacting with others. He will not lead squads and will almost always carry out missions on his own.
We call that the lone shark syndrome.
Son of did it again. This is Space Wolves all over again.
So, because these don't sound cultural, so is this cultural or is this some sort of a curse? Is this a gray area for our gray skinned friends here? Or?
Yeah, like there could be something that like.
Because to me, it's like it's interesting that this came from Fantasy Flight Games because it was the thing that jumped out to me the most because I was like, oh, this is so great for RP.
Yeah.
Because you know me, I'm all about roleplay.
Right.
And to be able to kind of have these different levels of kind of losing yourself and having that be tied to your gene seed is interesting to me.
like
but I don't know from your guys' perspective how that fits with the larger overall lore.
Yeah, so like the way the game mechanics in that work is like you have insanity points. So whenever you see a demon prince, you gain 5 insanity points, and then when you have 30, you get to stage 1. So you activate that. So it's really more of like.
But I guess the game itself, like you don't have a choice. If you are a Carcharodon, you are forced to follow this. And I guess that's where like the idea of it's a genetic trait,
right?
Because you had no control over it at all.
So can we think about it as almost like a psychological predisposition? So like even though you have the potential for schizophrenia in your family, you know, like certain events might trigger an onset. So like
I think the main idea is that not every Carcharodon is going to experience this.
Right, but
and
not everyone who has a history of, say, mental illness will necessarily have that mental illness. But it's a predisposition, so it means like they're more likely to follow this kind of pattern if they say acquire
what if when
certain
you see
experiences.
What if every time you see someone that is suffering from insanity, this is what they look like? You don't know of any other way to deal with your insanity other than speaking High Gothic and refusing to speak with other people. Or you say like, the only thing I know how is because the only thing I see is people just kill everything.
Like
they
they're
don't
not
take prisoners.
given like social skill classes.
Right.
You know, when they join.
All they
Astartes.
know is what they see and they like experience. So I don't know. the idea of like nature versus nurture.
Yeah.
I'm not a nature nurturologist, but I think there's.
Well, that's why I'm here.
Good
Let
thing,
me tell
Peter,
you.
Good thing you brought your PhD.
That's right.
I think there's definitely going to be a combination of both, but I think too many people get stuck on this idea of if I am a Carcharodon, it
will
means
always
I am
be-
coldly formal,
Yeah.
or
Right.
I am silent as the depths, and it doesn't have to be that way. But
You can't. There is hope.
Maybe it can change. Maybe if we when we said that it's not genetic, maybe that was a little too strongly worded.
that's
Not
it's-
only genetic.
it's
I
not
would
only genetic.
yeah, yeah.
Yes,
And like I said, I tend towards also the cultural side too. Like I don't like to think that all Space Marines follow very strict. There's obvious genetic markers like hair color and eye color and things like that that vary.
especially when things change in you, physical appearance
Yeah, like,
changes
if-
when we implant genes.
if you
in
were
your body.
recruited as a
Right.
redhead and then suddenly your skin gets
Yeah.
pale and your eyes turn black and your hair changes color, right? Like those are obviously genetic changes.
Good look. Good look for Eric, I think.
Should work
Am
on
I
that.
also gonna have filed shark teeth?
Yeah, great look.
How
That's
did
up
they
to
not
you.
include that in like your teeth become filed to points? Maybe it's like a
And
right
they
of
just fall out.
right, yeah, and then
Get
more
another
comes
set.
in. Yeah.
It's a weird gene seed mutation.
You tell that to all the Wolf brothers, okay?
Yeah.
But yes, it's not only genetic.
Yeah.
Maybe that's what we should say. It's not only genetic, and you can be a Carcharodon without these things.
Yeah.
You can be a very happy Carcharodon.
Well-adjusted.
Absolutely not. Or a
Scholar.
Space Marine.
All
okay?
Space Marines are psychologically damaged just
right.
by virtue of being a Space Marine. That hypno indoctrination has a cost. All right.
Well, drug indoctrination.
So, knowing all of this, many scholars say that the shark's gene seed comes from the Raven Guard, the chief evidence sharing similar appearance as the Raven Guard, mostly the pale skin, and is a sign of a failing melochromic organ, which
I think that just speaks right back to the fact that the physical representation is way more important than your your
demeanor.
temperament.
Yeah.
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 Like, hey, there's other chapters that might fall like better with this, like silent as the depths or whatever.
Yeah.
But we don't care about that because we look at the physical aspect of the gene seed, and that's what they're tying to the Raven Guard.
Yeah.
Although the Raven Guard are not.
I know that maybe that wasn't that great.
I know what you're saying, but not a great example for it.
Yeah.
But yeah, Raven Guard also have pale skin, so
Yeah.
so they must be the same. Both
They must
personality.
be. Yeah.
Of course.
That's how genetics work, right?
Nurture nature. But not all are happy with this explanation, and some even whisper that their gene stock may have come from a Raven Guard / Night Lords hybrid. But we will dive into that during our Tales of the Warp at the end.
Yeah. Yeah, pretty neat. All right, up next, let's talk about what the chapter believes. Solitary contemplation offers the best opportunity for revelation. And this is the Shade Lord, Arcus Phal, which a Shade Lord's the chapter master, so just
Carcharodon?
of the
Carcharodons,
Carcharodons, yeah. Yeah.
It's odd because that has nothing to do with sharks.
We shall swim in the shade. Isn't that
Lord.
yeah, isn't that a thing? Isn't that from one of those movies?
Probably. I don't know all movies.
Exactly.
A Shade Lord just sounds like a lesser meme lord.
You just throw shade. I am Lord of the Shade. Your mama's so fat. Oh, Shade Lord Eric.
No! Spare me!
Your barbed tongue.
Your mother was a hamster.
So, despite their long isolation from the Imperium, the chapter and its battle brothers seem deeply and almost incredibly loyal. Most of the Carcharodons encountered have shown reverence towards the Imperial Creed and places of Imperial worship. Many also make a habit of carrying around devotional items such as prayer scrolls on their war gear. Yeah, it's kind of interesting that they recognize that they avoid places of worship
When we're torching your planet, we'll leave your church alone.
You know, it only goes so far. We're like the fire a block away from your church. If it catches on fire, that's on you.
Yeah, you let your church catch on fire.
Yeah, exactly.
That was your fault.
Exactly.
Do they worship the Emperor as God?
Yeah, so it's to the Carcharodons, the Emperor is called Rangu, the Void Father, Sire of the Forgotten One. And his vigilance was eternal, a beacon in the night, and the bane of encroaching shadows is kind of how they see it.
So they've definitely twisted the Imperial Creed.
Yeah, and made their own cult where, like,
Yes.
you know, only the light of the Astronomicon and Regu will pull them out of the depths and, you know.
Right. It's quite different though.
Yeah.
Not a lot of the chapters we have experienced up to this point, they either like, hey, I follow the creed or I view him as a god, but I either follow like the Ecclesiarchy's doctrine or the Imperial Creed. It seems to be one or the other.
Yeah.
But this seems very separate from both.
Yeah, very their own. Their chapter had left humanity for the emptiness of the outer dark when he had still walked among mortals, and they would not return until he did so once again. So,
Is this he referring to the Forgotten One or to Rangu?
to the Forgotten One, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. Only with the coming of the Forgotten One could the edicts of exile be overturned, the chapter's eternal crusade in the darkness be brought to an end. So basically, yeah, the Forgotten One, we don't know quite who it is. It could be their Primarch, potentially. More proof it could be Raven Guards. When the Forgotten Ones return, they come back, and it's kind of, you know, the whole end times. They can then return from their exile,
Sure.
their self-imposed kind of just... It's a weird exile, because they're not really...
Yeah, no one exiled
Yeah,
them.
like they live in the void, but I don't know. No one exiled them. They exiled themselves.
Yeah. For something that we don't even know about.
Yeah, because they wanted to be sharks. That was their crime. Oh no, it makes sense. We've come to the discovery. Okay, well,
They were manipulating their own bodies to be more like sharks. That was their abomination against the gene seed.
yeah, perfect. The Carcharodon Astra are a faithful brotherhood, even by the standards of Adeptus Astartes. Their creed is an old one, older than the superstitions and misbeliefs of the current imperial cult. Theirs is not some blind faith based on on hollow praise and lavish notions. Their memories of the Emperor of a living, breathing titan, and terror is far more to them than some distant hub of the galaxy-spanning bureaucracy. Their connection to it is ancient and primal. It has sustained their loyalty and their determination for 10,000 years, amidst the loneliness of the outer dark. When they had first been banished, none had expected them to survive, let alone remain united as a chapter. But they did survive. Their desperate heritage bound by their faith in him on the old earth. None could shake that. Yeah. I
So-
guess when they're banished, they just could always see the light, maybe, and they're just like, the Emperor's real.
I think, like, trying to live outside of this galactic plane, it must offer some different kind of perspective, but it also kind of keeps them separate. When, like, I don't know, I feel like when you are separate, you have, like, a chance to either not change at all, because there's no one offering outside influences, no new ideas coming in, or you have the opportunity to just go nuts with what you're doing.
And really get creative.
And Eric
with it.
falls in the second.
I definitely go nuts if no one's there tapping me, being like, hey, stop being an idiot. But it sounds like these guys have really, like, stuck to their guns,
Yeah.
and they're like, this is who we were in the beginning, and this is who we are now.
Yeah. The sharks are cold and calculating, and allies that encounter them describe them as being short or standoffish, rarely choosing to speak to others, especially in battle. Like,
Even if they did speak, they're speaking High Gothic.
exactly, they just
Yeah, you can't even understand them.
yeah. In a way, they seem to see the universe in very much black and white terms: enemy and ally. Anyone who stands against the Imperium for whatever reason can only expect a brutal demise at the hands of the Carcharodons. Enemy or ally. Nothing else.
That's how I
Yeah.
like to see the world too.
And even ally, like
It's very black and white, yeah, and they don't really care.
even ally, it's like, well,
Yeah. They very much
Expendable.
They very much seem like a greater good type deal. Like, it doesn't really matter what I
Yeah.
do as long as the end goal is correct.
Yeah.
as long as I be killing.
That's right. As long as
For
I'm
the
spilling
Emperor, of
blood.
course,
Yeah. Yeah. Anything else we want to share about chapter beliefs?
No, I think we're good.
I have a quick question.
Yeah.
Do you guys dive into the aesthetics later on?
Yep.
At all? Okay. I'll save my opinions for then.
Perfect.
I don't want to hear him anyway.
Do you want to hear an opinion, Mr. Mumbler?
Oh, yes, go
We
on.
get hundreds, Christian, of messages of you fucking mumbling. So,
Why don't you just turn up my mic then? Why is this on me?
I can't.
hey, yeah, Eric.
Because even when he's regular talking, he's peaking. So I don't win either way on this one.
Life is tough.
It is tough.
Well, I'll
It's
continue
almost like
to-
Christian has his own podcast. Do you ever?
No one's
hear-
complained,
Yeah.
actually. So, fun fact, because we control our audio. So,
Wow.
and we'll never change. I'll continue to mumble.
Oh my! What did he say?
Thank God this is your
I'll
last
fucking kill him.
episode. Okay, well, we are going to take a quick break. Check out this ad from Scare You to Sleep, and we will be right back.
Hello, and welcome to Scare You to Sleep. Have you ever felt like you needed something a little darker than whale noises or counting sheep to unwind at the end of the day? Maybe you've realized horror itself can be a strange but relaxing escape from reality. Every week, I bring to you a myriad of bone-chilling tales, from 19th century dusty tomes to modern up-and-coming authors to truer spooky tales like Reddit mysteries and time slips, all accompanied by a gentle voice and ambient music and sounds so that you feel immersed and lost in your own personal horror story. You can find Scare You to Sleep exclusively on Spotify. So, grab some earbuds, a cozy corner, and join me, Shelby Scott, every Thursday, and let's get unsettled together. Now, go get some sleep. Sweet dreams.
All right, welcome back. And now I think we are going to talk about the combat doctrine
Yeah.
of the...
Sharky boys.
Oh, right, we're doing Carcharodons. That's right. That's
yeah.
what we're
Okay.
doing. Okay. Tactically, the Carcharodons operate almost exclusively as a rapid strike force, disdaining any kind of protracted engagement whenever possible, preferring to approach their targets either with extreme speed or by stealth, which allow them to strike with the element of surprise on their side whenever possible.
What hunting strategy is that? What animal?
Ants.
Ants are known for
That would be
really-
terrifying. First of all, they come out of nowhere and just like kind of
Drag you underground. Oh my god! That's a cool necromunity animal, though.
Ooh,
Yeah,
just a hive. If you step on them, they'll just pull you into the ground. Actually, it's not ants; it's lemurs. Those
we're just gonna let that.
those few who observe a Carcharodon assault and live would be forgiven for assuming that they are mindless berserkers, unconcerned with tactics or planning. In fact, the Carcharodons rely on a series of tactics that at their heart are both simple and reliable. Though the Carcharodons seem both competent and familiar with armored vehicles, the core of their tactics rely on large detachments of mobile Space Marine heavy infantry. In this way, the Carcharodons make use of the bloody prowess of their combat brethren to carry the day in battle. Yeah, and you see that, like, so often. You never see a Carcharodon model without some kind of chain weapon on them.
Yeah.
Like, they're always ready for combat.
Yeah.
They often endeavor to be the initiator of combat actions and prefer not to fight on the defensive, either attacking with point-blank weapons fire or in melee when they have broken through the enemy line. And that kind of just goes back to their whole, like, lightning strike, either with speed or stealth. They always want to be the aggressor and everything.
Yeah.
Tactical operations often begin with a battle company using its integrated scout marine forces and other reconnaissance units such as land speeder and bike squads to probe enemy positions and identify weak points and any target with strategic value. Once identified, the main Carcharodon's force hit these points with overwhelming attacks, eschewing preparatory bombardments or armored spearheads in favor of complete and overwhelming surprise.
Yeah.
I like that there's, like, the distinction between, like, it might be more normal to just bombard your...
Well, you want to soften them up.
Yeah, exactly.
And then you go for the killing
Make
blow.
them keep their heads down.
But just like sharks, have you ever seen a shark artillery strike?
I've seen Sharknado. I'm
That is true. They do utilize tornadoes
Sharks
as weapons.
with freaking lasers. Yeah. Depending on the success of these assaults, the Carcharodons usually follow two responses. If the targeted positions prove well defended, the Carcharodons withdraw. These withdrawals happen almost as quickly as the prior assault, and the Carcharodons fade from the battlefield like ghosts. I don't know if guys, have you ever watched sharks that hunt?
What kind of shark?
lots of sharks,
Okay.
but great white sharks.
Okay, yeah.
Like almost all the attacks that a shark does prior to before its kill are like sussing out what's happening. They
Yeah,
are
like
testing.
probing.
Yeah, they're probing exactly. They might even bite you and like nibble, and they're just trying to see
What you are.
How like do you react to it? Are you going to fight back? But they're not like attempting to sink their teeth in. It's only after they've tested the defense. And the Carcharodons, I would liken this to the fact that they send their initial probe in.
Yeah.
They test it. They find this is a weak spot, and then boom.
Boo.
That's when the Carcharodon army shows up.
I thought it was just a bike. Where did these guys come from?
It was one bike, but now there are many.
Yeah, there's something incredibly cool that the Carcharodons have that allow them to just bloop, show up. We'll talk later.
They patiently and their withdrawal. If they find out that their target is not soft, or it's all of a sudden, oh, why is all the enemy focused right here where I am? This would not be a good time. They don't even bother with it. They just leave. And they leave just as fast as they engaged.
Yeah.
And so if they leave, they patiently reevaluate the strength of the enemy positions, then launch another lightning assault at a different point they perceive to be weak. And I think that's really neat. I
Yeah.
love the idea of them just like probe all over. Like you have no idea where the main force is, and then that one point where you just weren't paying attention and just now they're there.
That's
Yeah.
how I like to fight people. I poke them, find the softest part of their body, and then I just punch you. Don't even see it coming.
Oh, yeah, this eyeball's pretty good.
They learned. He's wearing goggles.
But yeah, they're definitely not like mindless berserkers, as you can tell.
No,
right?
but
like
they
mindless
are-
berserkers
they are
wouldn't care. They're just
savage.
like,
Yeah.
enemy is here. I'm gonna go headlong. I don't care if it's a
Exactly.
hard target, soft target. Doesn't matter.
We're gonna
Yeah.
either push through or we're gonna like die on the
In
wall.
the
It
intent.
doesn't matter.
Yeah, exactly. Whereas these guys are like, no. There's a time to strike.
They are
like the
definitely
Minotaurs, they
hunters.
do the push through. They get all their
Yeah,
guys
yeah,
and
yeah.
they just
Yeah,
go.
we don't
"We're
care how hard you
taking
are. We're
this."
gonna push through no matter what.
Exactly, yeah. Whereas these ones, just as savage, even if not more so.
Yeah.
But instead of trying to push through, they'll find a soft spot. Yeah.
Yeah.
Or they'll withdraw.
or
which
they'll-
I think
yeah.
is really interesting.
Yeah, it's
that
not
they're
like
just
there's no
willing to be
dishonor.
like,
and-
nope, this
yeah.
isn't it. Everybody out.
Yeah, they don't feel honor bound to like, no, we must do it like right now. Like maybe we'll do it in 2 days from now. Maybe we'll do it 5 minutes from now.
Is it soft now? Nope. Is it soft now? Nope. Now? Yes. Go.
Eventually, one of these assaults succeeds, and then the Carcharodons press the attack to the hilt. Once they commit fully, they dig deep into the enemy's vitals, endeavoring to do as much damage as possible, as quickly as possible. Like, say, destroy a reactor core
Of your city.
of your entire hive city. At this point, the full fury of the Carcharodons is all too apparent, and little survives this stage of the assault. Ugh.
They just get in there and they chew you apart.
And now they just unleash all their savageness that has just been waiting, hiding beneath the
just
surface.
imagine like they do the little test and they're like, okay, that wasn't it, but the next one, oh, that wasn't it, and
Yeah.
then they finally get this is it.
And that's when they
Yeah,
bite.
the
and they
whole
just,
fucking like,
energy. They just chomp down on you. And they just put their teeth into you.
go. That's worth $2 on Patreon to watch that. Do that motion. It's both very sexual and frightening.
I'm
That's
terrified
the title of
and
my
aroused.
Sex which you can also see on Patreon.
No, OnlyFans.
Oh, that's right. OnlyFans.
Eric probes for a weak spot.
Eric finds the weak spot.
Full attack.
You just bite. And you bite.
I
Anyways.
like it.
Back to space sharks. When undergoing boarding operations during ship-to-ship void battles, the Carcharodons are known to employ an ancient and crude but unique weapon known as Ursus claws. Not shark claws, but whatever.
Bear claws.
Yeah,
I, mean, it
I feel like we
kinda-
could have gone with like shark's bite or shark
Yeah.
mouth or something.
Yeah, just Jaws.
Yeah. Just jaws. Hey, yeah.
Have you heard of the jaws of life? Well, these are the jaws of death.
Yeah, there you go.
These are the jaws of angels of death. They are large, barbed lances that are the size of smaller escort ships in their own right. Fashioned like massive harpoons, These lances puncture through an enemy vessel's hull, and once impaled, the immense spears become active, locking to their prey's ravaged insides with magnetic strength. So it's just harpooning. Scaled
Up.
Yeah. So let's
to
go back.
space. It's a space scale.
Yeah, let's go back to them fighting the orcs in that battle where they're
The
flying
terror
around,
ships?
yeah, and they're harpooning orc ships and pulling them close, and the orcs are climbing across the chains now because they're like,
Oh yeah,
like
they're
yeah,
climbing through space
Yeah.
to get to the fight. Oh my god,
exactly.
that's so
Beautiful.
cool.
I do like that the Ursa's claws aren't unique to them. Like, they've been a weapon that's been around. Like, the world leaders used to use them during the Horse Heresy, and I'm sure the other chapters do too. So I like that they're repurposing like this weapon that like appears here and there, and they've made it like a thing. They don't invent something new. So to be fair,
Yeah.
even though they're Ursa's claws,
Oh yeah, I guess. Okay.
yeah,
Okay.
they did exist before.
Right.
But you
they're
can
not-
call
they're
them
not
whatever
their
you
own.
want, though.
Sure, yeah, I guess.
They
If
call
you
it
want
a chapter
if you want to be a space
shape
wolf
lords,
about
like-
it,
I want to be a space. Hey, rune priests are not psychers, okay?
they're totally different.
They don't even look the same. Corporate wants you to find the difference between these two pictures. It's the same picture. Anyways, glad no one here likes space wolves. With malicious slowness, the Carcharodon vessels can then recall their spears as the lancets ratchet back towards the vessel that fired them, dragging them home on massive chains. Once the doomed vessel is within reach of the Carcharodons, they then disgorge their Astartes into the bowels of the impaled enemy ship, and the blooding begins in earnest.
Yeah. That's nice.
Whew. When Mark was sharing this with me when we were doing our episode, I just had this, the image in my head of a Carcharodon's fleet and an enemy fleet, and they are thousands of kilometers apart.
You know how void
Right.
warfare
In
tends
space,
to
you
be.
know, where
Yeah.
you are thousands of kilometers apart.
Yeah.
And then out of nowhere, just this spear comes flying
On a
from
chain?
on a chain, yes, comes flying.
Where do they get
Just
that much
uncoiling
chain?
from their ship as
Don't
it's
worry,
shooting out.
I got an image for the chain.
Okay.
And it pierces some ship. Let's say it's a good target, whatever. It gets it, and then some guy back on the Carcharodon ship is like, "Yeah, we got it," and then he just cracks his whip, and now thousands of slaves must slowly spindle this chain across thousands of kilometers while this ship is like putting its thrusters to like
Get away.
fight this chain, and the guy's like, no,
No.
more power, reel it in faster.
That's 40K.
I get
nice.
It doesn't sound like it makes a lot of sense in like a long warfare, but that was
Maybe it's more of a closer.
yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
But I got a
But
hilarious.
still, like,
image.
what's the record for the farthest shot? You know?
Yeah,
How
yeah.
longs are these chains?
2 light years. That's how
You could hit the moon from Earth.
They're still shooting one and they're adding chains onto it while it's flying into space.
We need more length.
Oh my god.
That's ridiculous. Okay.
Yeah, so Ursa's claws. Okay. Whew. Only a few intelligible accounts of the Carcharodons exist that tell of the chapter's very disciplined order of deployment and battle. Despite the evidence from casual observers that they are a barbarous and savage chapter in nature. I kind of get that. If you weren't part of like their
Planning,
yeah, exactly.
yeah.
All you would see is just a lightning attack horde that does
Yeah.
as maximum damage as possible. And I love when they describe like once they're in,
Yeah.
they push to the vital, and they
Yeah.
are going to get this vital spot because they've done their reconnaissance. They knew this was the weak point,
Yeah.
and they're so fast that they're going to get there before anyone can mobilize.
Yeah.
And I get it. To me, that would just look horrifying.
Yeah. Because you wouldn't see those scouts.
No,
you
of
wouldn't
course
see the
not.
probes.
Yeah, you wouldn't be a part of that, right? So.
Yeah. Yeah. Very cool.
And there is one other interesting and somewhat disturbing detail about the Carcharodon's assaults. Their battles are conducted in complete silence. Any commands from the chapter's leaders are transmitted over a locked and encrypted voxnet, and the Battle Brothers abstain from issuing any word or sound to friend or foe. To see such carnage enacted without a word or cry is chilling, to say the least. all you have to do is watch Astartes to get that feeling.
Yeah.
The idea of just like silent warriors
Just doing their job.
dismantling people in front of them.
Yeah.
I also contrast this with someone like the Black Templars. Shame you didn't bring them up, Eric, in this episode, but
Yeah, now you can't.
yeah.
'cause
But like
Christian's
how
got that
like
right.
verbose they are, and like when they're like issuing challenges to the enemy, and even like bad
Screaming like prayers to the emperor.
yeah, like they're very and which is equal. It's
Challenging
terrifying
with
in its own
curses.
way too,
Yes.
right? But these guys are the exact opposite, where it's just like silent death.
Yeah, I mean, I guess it kind of makes sense. I don't think sharks make a lot of noise
I was gonna make that
when they're
comparison too.
hunting.
Not super chatty.
Yeah. You meet that one shark. His name is Gary, and he's
Always
just
Gary.
You know that.
always. Gary, shut up! Stop yelling. Yeah, I like the idea of the silent. It definitely fits in the whole predatory, like theme that they got going on.
Yeah.
Whew, and that's it for combat doctrine. That was a lot.
Yeah. They're brutal. They're quiet. They're smart. Tactical.
Yeah, if you were just looking at them, you might just assume they were barbarous or savage, but people who know understand that might not be the truth. And they are actually intelligent creatures. Beautiful, misunderstood.
They're people too.
Whew. All right, next we have organization.
Although anecdotal evidence indicates that Carcharodons roughly conform to the tactical and squad doctrines of the Codex Astartes, this does not carry over to its command structure and company arrangements. Instead, the Carcharodons seem to split their chapter into a number of battle companies designed to operate independently. Each has an augmented auxiliary force of scout marines for reconnaissance and evaluation of the enemy, and a dedicated spearhead of Terminator veterans who serve as the company captain's bodyguard.
Now, I don't think we've mentioned yet, which is surprising, but they are a fleet-based chapter, right?
Yep, they are.
Okay.
Yep.
And I like how that kind of causes their company organization to change. It makes complete sense to me that if you want to operate independently, you kind of need to be able to fill all the roles. In the same way that the Black Templar
You son of you did it.
have their Crusader squads, right?
yeah.
Where they don't have their 10th company full of scouts.
Yeah, yeah.
Instead, they handle
distribute them
Yeah,
throughout,
exactly. And it seems like that's the same way that the Carcharodons would do it, is that they don't necessarily have an entire company dedicated to the scouts in the same way they don't have a company dedicated to veterans.
Yeah.
They spread them out along the entire chapter.
Yeah. And it also even just ties in, like, it shows how they can use their scouts just so good. Like, their scouts are training beside the tactical marines that they're sending in to do battle, as opposed to just being sent in. 10th Company has sent scouts to this war zone without even fighting beside any of them, knowing any of them. Yeah, it's just further integration, so.
Yeah, I honestly like this kind of layout better. All my custom chapters always I end up.
I mean,
doing
that's
Liber
the
Malleus.
Liber
too.
Malleus.
Yeah.
Yeah, they function the same way. They don't have that 10th Scout Company. And, yeah.
Well, it seems likely the Carcharodons eschew reserve companies entirely. However, these last two cadres may have been held in reserve for the chapter's fleet, a not uncommon practice for fleet-based chapters who spend large periods in isolation. They've been observed to make use of chaplains and librarians with little deviation from their chapter roles in other chapters. However, apothecaries and tech marines seldom appear outside of the Carcharodons' nomad fleet. It's very likely that Carcharodons recognize the vital role these space marines play in preserving and maintaining their chapter's very existence, and so they just keep them on hand whenever possible.
Yeah.
The idea of the Tech Marine and Apothecary, I love. I love the fact that they're kind of kept separate and we don't have a fortress monastery where everything is like super well guarded and stuff, and where like you have a bastion, but we recognize that it's really important that our Tech Marines are kept safe and that they are available for repairs and like crafting or whatever.
Yeah.
Because losing one of those in a fleet base just seems like it would have such a larger effect.
Yeah. Now you got to go get a new one trained. You got to go to Mars? No, thank you.
Yeah. And same with Apothecary. Man, that just sounds crazy.
13 years of medical schooling.
Oh,
Wasted.
The Carcharodon's order of battle contains several officer positions not present in other Space Marine chapters, though they largely resemble the standard Codex ranks. So we've already mentioned Shade Lord. So the title Shade Lord is now used instead of Chapter Master by the commander of the Carcharodons. This title was only known to have been previously used by the exiled Raven Guard commander and former Legion Master Arcus Fall during the Great Crusade.
Yeah, that's one more notch in the Raven Guard gene seed heritage argument.
They also have company masters. So Carcharodon captains are called company masters instead. They have Reaper Prime. So a Reaper Prime is an additional title given to a company master. Beyond the captaincy of their own company, it is their job to ensure the chapter is constantly supplied with fresh aspirants, normally achieved during the Red Tithes, which we've mentioned a couple times, when the chapter's edicts of exile permitted it to descend on an imperial world to harvest the population for chapter serfs and potential aspirants.
Okay. Master of Recruits is his polite name.
No, I'm the Reaper Prime.
Sir, your title is Master of Recruits. It's like every other Astartes chapter.
I'm the Reaper. The Shade Lord said I could be.
This goth theme seems to be very Raven Guard too.
There's also the Harvester Prime. So this is an additional title that's also given to a company master. It's their duty to seek out archaeotech and lost technology on the isolated worlds that lie in the outer dark. This acquisition of technology is achieved during a so-called Grey Tithe and traded to the tech priests of Mars for Astartes arms and equipment per the chapter's ancient pact with the Adeptus Mechanicus.
Very cool.
It's very interesting, yeah, that they're actually recruiting, collecting objects that they're willing to trade with Mechanicus, and they have their own deal going, right? Not all chapters have that.
Yeah, there's no mention that they have ties to a Forge World or a Mechanicus Bastion that they can, claim supplies from, and they don't hurry to protect them or whatever. So I like the fact that they have this kind of special way that, obviously they're getting arms somehow, and a lot of their arms seem to be unique in
very
design
unique,
too.
Old.
So they have to have some kind of tie to the Mechanicus, and I like the way they did it. It's just an agreement that we will collect, archaeotech and old things for you, and in return, you will grace us with weapons of war.
You know what this reminds me of?
What?
Jawas.
Sailing the sands of Tatooine for archaeotech, taking the Grey Tithe.
That's why no one understands their speech.
Speaking High Gothic.
Yeah, that's what High Gothic sounds like, if anyone wondered.
That's High Gothic.
Their robes cover that they're sharks.
That's right.
I get it.
Their red eyes peering from the black void.
Get it.
Jawas, Jaws. It all makes sense.
Oh my god.
Oh, Infinity Brain. All right, Red Brethren. These Terminator armored elite are the veteran warriors of the chapter. All Red Brethren habitually remain armed and armored at all times. The Terminator battle plate they wear is heavily inscribed with red exile markings and often hung with the yellowing predator incisors that are collected by some Carcharodons. Utterly loyal to the incumbent Shade Master, they are deployed on the most vital missions, usually tithings, to ensure that the overriding objectives are met and the chapter's needs satisfied. The Red Brethren also, however, fall under the command of the company master they are assigned to and are bound to follow his orders, provided they do not directly contradict the mission assigned by the chapter.
Very cool. Yeah. And there's probably 100 of these guys in the chapter, maybe. 10 for every company.
The explanation, though, their ties to the Mechanica means they might have more Terminator armor.
Yeah, they
too.
do even talk about it. They can draw a lot of Terminators, but I don't think they have a full complement. But
sure. I mean, no hard numbers, but as is 40K's tradition.
Yeah, a lot.
And when they do hard numbers, it's always a mistake.
The Red Brethren, if you got the World Butcher, World Eater, Terminator guys.
Yeah.
They would make great bases for them.
Yeah, they would be sweet.
Like they got these like weird like power fist chain hands, and I don't.
They have like the jagged maw theme. I think they're called Red Butchers. Yeah. Furious typing.
Yeah.
Furious typing. Who's gonna win? I got it up here. It's on the screen. Here we go.
Okay.
Beautiful.
Yeah,
I mean,
that's a good example of it with their fist hands and like
Oh,
shark mouthy.
Yeah, and especially because they're world eaters, they'll have a lot of chain
Yeah.
motifs running through them.
Yeah, and they got some cool power axes or chain axes. I mean too. But
Yeah.
Oh, here we go. Here's the best one of them. Oh yeah.
The Red Butchers.
You just click and click until there we go, and then you click and then.
Well, maybe we should talk about.
All right. Continuing on, their version of Assault Marines are called Devourers. They also have Strike Leaders, which is their Sergeant equivalent, and Void Brother, which is just a standard Battle Brother.
Yeah.
It feels like I really like the shark theme, but every once in a while they just seem to abandon it completely and go into like the void theme.
Yeah, it's kind of like they have their yellowing predator incisors, but that's just like any teeth that they're decorating.
Yeah, are they they're not
just-
specific sharks or
Yeah,
anything?
no, it's not.
And they're hardly the first chapter to put teeth on their armor.
It's just
Yeah.
That's what they're calling them. Then we can go on to, as previously mentioned, what few imperial records exist about the Carcharodon suggest they are entirely fleet-based, which in turn would suggest they have fundamental differences from most more conventional Space Marine chapters. And the Carcharodons follow the rarer or so-called nomad predation pattern. And this is used exclusively by chapters operating for long durations beyond the Imperium's borders, acting as self-contained forces which function without recourse to the Imperium for support at all.
I like that there's a name for that.
Yeah.
And it totally makes sense that these guys who are kind of existing outside of the galactic plane, like they have to be able to function independently.
Yeah.
So they have to be able to like, hey, look, we've got the Red Tithe and we're around this Forge world, and they'll honor our agreement with the Mechanicum, and because we can't go back to a Forge world that we knew. So I like that. They're part of the nomad predation pattern. Who else follows that?
They did mention, I forget where, because it was a pretty
okay.
typical like Horus Heresy Great Crusade type thing.
Interesting.
So these types of fleets voyage without end, pausing only to attack targets that are within their means to destroy without threatening their own viability as an effective spaceborne fighting force. The majority of the fleet has been in service since the first day of exile.
That's sweet. So that's one nice thing. Like they're a Crusade fleet, but they're not going out there to commit suicide. Like
Because that's what the Black Templar would do.
Exactly,
They're
like-
on the same crusade that they're fighting, and like they smash themselves against it. They lose a bunch of guys. They rebuild. They go do the same thing over again. Whereas these guys, they sound very much more like they're picking their targets.
Mm-hmm.
And we don't know why they're in exile.
Yeah, we don't even know.
That is.
Well, suicide isn't one of the reasons. So that's
Another one of those differences has to do with chapter war gear and materials. So being fleet-based, the chapter will often lack new supplies, but being an ancient chapter gives them access to war gear from a time long lost.
And they also like do lots of like with their tech priests. That's why they need them so much. They need to be able to fix all their stuff. They do tons of looting as well. Like
entire other chapter armories
yeah,
and planets.
They do keep it to Space Marines that they loot, but yeah,
They're
Yeah.
like
If
shark pirates.
yeah.
Really.
Shark space pirates.
Another theme brewing.
They are far more likely to carry weapons such as the ancient Phobos R017 pattern bolter or the Mark V heresy pattern power armor, an unusual contingent of Terminator armor suits, often sporting arms of ancient providence, with the few starships observed to be serving the Carcharodons, were wildly different in design and even the era of their construction. This chapter will perform extensive modifications and repairs, as well as tactical looting in order to keep their war machine moving.
I do tactical looting too at Walmart.
Ooh.
Right to jail for that one.
No, this one was tactical.
The
It's allowed.
I like how like the looting makes sense.
Yeah.
Um,
Old equipment.
yeah, the fact that their fleet has been around for so long because they're very careful about what targets they pick, that makes sense that their ships are going to be things that you haven't seen in a long time.
They got cool and unique war gear because they're trading it with like archaeotech, so they traded with good stuff.
That's valuable stuff
Yeah.
that they are collecting.
I imagine
for
that's
the
they'll
Mechanicus.
find cool stuff that they're like, we're just gonna keep this.
yeah. This one.
But not only that, like I think they actively search out that stuff too.
Yeah.
They don't just like I'm sure they happen upon a lot of things, but I also
Yeah, if you're looking, you're
part
more
of-
likely to find something.
Yeah. They hear a rumor and they're like, okay, we can go for that target and claim this and then trade it for later. So
Yeah.
they're very independent.
Yeah. All right, up next, we're going to talk about recruitment.
Recruitment. The Red Tithe. Being a fleet-based chapter with no homeworld, Uthaka doesn't count, the Carcharodon's Reaper Prime have had to get creative with their recruitment methods. After much debate, the Red Tithe was created. The concept is simple. Descend on an imperial world, unannounced, and take anyone they want. The vast majority of those taken become slaves or chapter serfs, but rarely the exceptional kidnappee rises to the top and gets to join the ranks of the Astartes. The degree of attrition during the induction process is higher than most other Astartes chapters, but this was the unavoidable legacy of the Carcharodon's unique nature.
Cool.
Why do we think that it's higher?
I mean, if you're taking an entire population, you're probably more likely to find rejects.
So do you think that they're just throwing people that other chapters might not even put in
bother
their
with?
ranks?
Yeah.
Okay. So another chapter might look at 100 people and they pick out 10.
Yeah.
Whereas the Carcharodons are like, we'll just throw all 100 of you in the meat grinder.
Yeah, and
we
see
picked
who
up
comes
5
out.
billion of
Yeah.
you.
So obviously the process is going to have a lot more chaff, right?
Yeah.
Which will
That makes
inevitably
sense
be
then.
discarded. Yeah. Especially when you're considering population to recruitment ratios, it's super low, right? Like the number of people that actually, like on Earth right now, there's probably only a handful of people, like 7 billion people, and only like a couple might stand a chance at becoming a Space Marine, maybe.
Well, we have 4 people in this room
Right now.
that are
Definitely
capable.
me.
I saw
yeah,
Peter-
I would be a space marine.
Peter like eyeing me like, oh no, I'm
Yeah, I was looking at you guys going like, no, I feel like I got a good shot here.
I'm definitely a space marine. Yeah.
Yep.
I'm just gonna accept my
Yeah, but
place
you
as a
must
chapter
fit in
serf.
this chest.
Peel my skin back and put that carapace on me. What do you think I haven't felt pain like that before?
My body is ready.
Get real. I broke my finger once.
Space Marine quality right there.
I can withstand a lot of hurt.
And also the Grey Tithe they have when it kind of comes to this. So the Grey Tithe is what the Carcharodons call period of time where they journey to find ancient technologies and archaeotech in order to trade with the Adeptus Mechanicus. Through this process of trade, the Carcharodons get new weapons, equipment, maybe recruits even, who knows? Probably not. Not from the Mechanicus, but you never know.
Hey, here, have this tech priest. We don't want him anymore.
Yeah, one time, this one Carcharodon, we'll call him Gary.
Just for
He hands over some piece of tech, and the tech priest is like, "Here's your Skitari," and Gary's like, "Wait, what?"
here's your
Yeah,
Skitari.
thank you. And then Mechanicus tech priest starts leaving, walking away. Gary's like, "What am I gonna do with all this Skitari?" I want to see a little book written about Gary the Carcharodon
And
and
Gary
his,
and Skitari.
Gary and his unit of Skitari.
So how different is the Red Tithe from what other chapters would do?
Like very different. So most chapters they have their home world. They might even slightly care about the population they're
Ultramarines,
abducting from. But I think it's just the degree.
They're very selective. I think a lot of chapters are.
Yeah.
They are looking for specific markers
Candidates,
of aggression.
yeah.
doing genetic testing for
Yeah.
them. Like
Whereas it sounds like these guys, they will go to a planet and they will just take everything away from it. I don't know of any other chapter that empties another planet of life.
Now,
Yeah.
is that Is that common that they will take the entire population of a world too? Because that
They
seems
called
like...
it a Red Tithe, and they said we're taking the tithe, and they emptied Kartak of life.
Right. So
I
one
won't say-
one example,
it doesn't
because
have-
otherwise you would see regularly planets just like
Well,
all
how
life
many
is
times do you
gone.
think they need to do the Red Tithe?
Yeah.
But
They're one chapter.
Are they
out of the
synonymous with
million
taking an
worlds.
entire population?
I don't know.
Right?
I
Was
d-
this
I
just
doubt
in
it.
one example?
The
They happened
only
to take the whole
example we
population.
have of a Red Tithe is them
Sure.
taking the whole thing. I'm not saying it happens every
Right.
time,
And that's what I'm saying.
but I'm not saying it doesn't happen every time. It might
What are you saying,
happen
then?
50% of the time. What I am saying is that one time they did do it.
And that's all we know. Yeah.
But
Okay.
it definitely isn't normal. The
Yeah.
idea of like emptying a planet of life.
Also, any planet, because again, typically Astartes work within the bounds. Like they respect other people's territory. They'll have a set of recruiting worlds that they might
Yeah. A
draw
fleet-based
from.
chapter, you're way more likely to find them pulling from anywhere.
Sure.
But I think a lot of the times, even in like, they give the people an opportunity, or they'll
Yeah.
announce that they are there.
They're
for
coming for
recruitment.
recruits
Right.
and
Yes,
send out your
bring
best.
forth your
Right.
people.
Yeah.
Whereas these guys are here, and they'll reinstate you into power, and then they'll take you and make
all
you
your
a slave.
people.
Yeah.
Kids could just be sleeping in their beds one night, and next day, boom, abducted by space marine sharks.
Space sharks.
Up next, heraldry. The main color of the Carcharodons is a dark gray armor, with both shoulder pads being inset with black. Their circling shark chapter sigil is then painted white over the left black pauldron, the right shoulder pad to mark the squad. That being said, they often seem to have abandoned the Codex Astartes prescribed symbols and insignia that signify rank and assignment in a battle company, preferring to draw their own designs and symbols.
And they're very like unique symbols and styles for sure.
Many of the Carcharodon battle brothers can carry abstract scrimshaw talismans or decorate their armors with intricate and abstract line work. These talismans, etchings, and traceries often depict highly stylized images of fanged maws, death heads, oceanic predators, and the like. This primitivism
Yep.
likely evolved as part of the chapter's unique and impenetrable culture over millennia of isolation. So they're talking about like all this line work and scrimshaw and stuff. And Christian, why don't you're passionate about these types of things. Tell us where this comes from.
This comes from, or often looks
Have you
like,
seen the Disney movie?
Moana.
Moana?
Yeah, they have very
Make way!
the very strong Polynesian themes, like kind of like how the Minotaurs were like Spartan. Like these guys are very Polynesian Islander, Pacific Islander. A lot of their armor is like decorated with like what looks like Polynesian tattoo work.
Yeah.
but on their armor, which is really cool. And some people, like, we don't have a lot of official artwork of their faces, but I've seen some people who actually paint that on their skin too as tattoos, which are really cool. And it's just a common theme.
Yeah.
For the chapter.
And
Yeah,
it
they're
just-
very recognizable.
Yeah,
Like,
their aesthetic is
You will
very-
not like miss these guys if you ever see them.
Yeah, and then you have the odd guys too that hang the tooth necklaces, like you said
Right.
earlier too.
Yeah.
So very cool.
Another unique visual marker of the Carcharodons is their weaponry. There are no records indicating which Forge World crafts and maintains their weapons, and since there are so many different, since they're so different from any of the other weapons we have on file, it's a real mystery. Almost all the melee weapons used by the Carcharodons have been modified, and they take on a heavy, menacing look, full of saw-tooth blades capable of rendering as much body damage as possible. Like you just think of like you think of that weapon with like it's a stick and it has shark teeth on it, and like all the weapons look very similar to that, like these jagged weapons. You bolt on extra metal.
They don't
like,
necessarily look clean
Yeah.
or like uniform in their look. They really look like savage.
and I feel like each guy maybe not personalizes his own like weapon to the degree of like
At the very least, I wouldn't be surprised to see them putting their own tattoos on them.
or like I'm gonna rewrap this handle shaft with this new type of cool
Or I'm gonna
space
use
shark
I'm gonna
leather.
use bone as like the handle or something. Like
Or maybe doing some small mechanical tweaks. I don't
Yeah.
know.
Let's not get
It wouldn't
carried
be,
away.
It wouldn't be the first chapter to do that.
That's true. Yeah.
So
Yeah, but it's very cool. Their weapons are very cool looking.
yeah, I think that's one of the things I really like about this chapter is there's no mistaking them.
Yeah, yeah.
You know, like some chapters you look at and you really have to like look at detail to try and figure out, okay, what sets this chapter apart from this chapter. But the Carcharodons, they're just, it's kind of a breed on their own.
Yeah. Yeah. That's what they look like. They really don't talk too much, and in artwork, I really don't see them doing too much weird shark fins on top of heads or anything too crazy like that.
Yeah, the nautical theme, it mainly comes through like the connection to that Polynesian like history, as well as like their predatory necklaces.
Yeah. Even their naming conventions, they sound like Polynesian names. Rangu. Rangu.
Kahurangi.
The emperor is like from Rongo, which is like Maori mythology. Like they're definitely culturally very heavy on them, the same way like the Minotaurs were.
Yeah, but it's not for being the space sharks.
They're not very shark.
It's crazy. Like it feels like sometimes they're so sharky, you know, and it's like, oh my god, calm down on the sharkiness. And then other times when you're like, I would really like some shark stuff right now. They're like, here's some space stuff.
I'll give you a bear. Ursus claws.
Ursus claws. Here's a forest animal for you. I don't know. It's I think it is consistent. I would judge it more consistent than inconsistent.
It's good enough. I
but
like it.
There are a couple of things that I'm reading and I'm like, it feels weird. Yeah, like the Ursus claws. Like, come on, there's a better word out there for you. And you've had 10,000 years to think of it, and you haven't, and you've stuck with Ursus claws.
Idiot.
That's on you, Shade Lord.
Cool. Yeah. So that's kind of the summary of the chapter. Like they're these barbaric tactical warriors, I guess. I don't know. You've heard us describe them many times. I don't need to do it again. We're gonna talk about characters. Those are cool.
I think what's really neat about them is they don't necessarily present themselves to how they truly are.
Yeah.
I think that's one kind of neat thing, is that if you really want to understand them, you actually have to dive in. If you were an Imperial Scholar and you're just getting like people's firsthand accounts of them, and then you looked at, like, you talked with them or you witnessed them, I think you'd come to two very different conclusions on them, which is kind of neat. It doesn't seem like they are actively trying to like withhold information, but just the nature of the chapter doesn't allow them to reveal themselves fully.
Yeah. It's cool too that they are just completely loyal to, and even though their other Astartes chapter look at them and like, oh, I don't like that, but like you can trust them still, I guess, you know.
Yeah, and when they first showed up at the Badab War, the loyalists and like the traitors, neither were really convinced what side the Carcharodons were on. And it almost at some point, you know, they convinced the loyalists that, you know, we're with you guys, and then it felt like the loyalists are like, okay, you can maybe have this area.
Yeah, you should go that way.
Yeah, exactly. Go over here and like do things, but if you turn on us, you're like so far away that it might not matter. And then they, you know, savagely destroy them, and then like, oh, we get you're on our side now, but we don't necessarily like this. So, yeah. Anyways, I like them.
Yep.
I think they're really unique.
You can really just make an army of them and make them your own, like,
absolutely
stylized. They would be sweet.
They're not very uniform.
Yeah. I think this is like a perfect example of how to give your own chapter flavor without making them special snowflakes.
Sure.
Like, these guys are cool and they have like unique ways of operating, but are they like the best at something?
Yeah, they don't claim to be.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
They're doing their own thing, and you see a lot of interactions with other people and how other people view and regard them. You kind of see how they regard themselves as like the patient hunter, and it talks a lot about being exiled and kind of waiting for that to end. So I like it. I think it's a good example.
Yeah.
Anyways, that's it for me.
Yeah.
Let's talk about a couple of the cooler characters or named things in the chapter itself. So I'll go first. I have a pretty short one.
Okay.
I picked Tay Kahurangi, which is the chief librarian of the Carcharodon Astra, and he is also called the Pale Nomad. And Tay Kahurangi is the oldest living member of the chapter. He is supposedly descended from the wandering ancestors. I even saw one source claiming as many as 3 generations away. So that's very old. If they
Is that in human generations or Space Marine generations?
Space Marines have generations. What is the standard Space Marine generation?
Like your recruitment group, I guess.
So anywhere from
Well,
2 days to 600 years.
That's a fair question. I don't know. I'm not a Space Marineologist.
I can't tell you exactly what the generation breakup is. All I know is that it feels like it's kind of built into their mythos, the story of Tay Kahurangi. He's only 3 generations removed from the wandering ancestors.
Like he's close
who
to
were
the past.
there
Yeah.
when with the Forgotten One. So it kind of feels more story information than it does actual facts. Anyways, so he's descended from the wandering ancestors who had gone into space at the request of the Forgotten One.
Okay, cool.
And that's kind of all we really know about him, but he's old. He's old as dirt.
Oh, it's dirt.
Yeah. I mean, if you were to assume that they existed sometime pre M32, and if you were to say 3 generations might be, 80 standard Terran years, Tay Kahurangi might be close to 8,000 years old.
Whoa, that seems randy. Hey, you
Tell
know
me
what?
how I'm wrong.
I'm not going to argue with you. You know, your numbers, I've done the math myself.
The math checks out.
The math checks out. I'm just flabbergasted as
Yeah.
all, you know?
It's I don't think he is that old.
Yeah.
But I think you could make an argument, and there's enough
You have to-
unknown information for you to speculate that he could be that
You have to
old.
work within the limits of the oldest stated.
Well,
Space
oldest
Marine.
stated known,
The oldest dated, too, there is a salamander who lived 10,000 years or something.
Yeah, but
so we know
he
it's
was
possible.
frozen in time. Does that count? I don't know.
You know.
show me a Space Marine that dies from old age, and I will be convinced that they can't.
No,
live
but
that
if
long.
they've stated that, can't believe I forgot his name. Blood Angels.
Yeah, Dante.
Dante is the oldest chapter or oldest living Space Marine.
Yeah, but
But how that's quantified, I don't know. I'm just saying.
it might be the oldest known living Space Marine. Abaddon is definitely older.
Sure, yeah, and if you count any Chaos Marine.
Bjorn Fellhanded is definitely older than Dante.
But is he really living?
I bet he's lived more than 1,500 years.
Is he really living in a dreadnought though? Is
I bet he
living in
has
a dreadnought really living?
I bet he has spent more minutes awake than
Than
Dante
asleep.
has.
Yeah, I'm just saying, it gets messy. When
I
you're
know that Dante
calculating.
is declared that, but I also doesn't mean there isn't another Space Marine older than Dante. It means that Dante
Oldest living seems to be pretty definitive. Eric. Just saying.
What if you don't know what their birthdays are?
Do you
How
guys
would
want to
know?
hear
We
some
don't know
cool
any
psychic powers they
information.
have?
Once you get that old,
No.
I want to fight about the age of Tay Kahurangi.
No, I think we should. Yeah. Okay.
No, I understand that Dante is the oldest living Space Marine, but you're making the assumption that we know the birth date and the age of every single Space Marine.
I
in the
didn't write it,
galaxy.
Eric. They wrote
That's
it.
written from the perspective of someone in the Imperium who doesn't have all the data.
From the depths.
You know who else lives to be quite old? Sharks.
8,000 years?
I'm just saying, there's some big sharks out there.
Yeah, I'm not saying that he is older than Dante, but he probably is older.
Okay, so he's got some cool psychic powers that he's able to use. Rending Maw. The librarian calls forth the avatar of a great oceanic predator whose maw erupts from the very ground beneath the enemy.
I wonder what predator that could be.
The very stones and earth reform into shape of the jaws and teeth that snap shut, consuming all within a shower of gore. Those that are not dragged below or what?
Is anyone else confused by the fact that Earth's oceans burned away thousands of years before the Carcharodons
Eric,
came into
go to
existence?
Hold on.
sleep, my sweet Prince Eric. It's fine. It's fine. Let me tell you about this next psychic
Okay,
power.
yeah, I'm here. I'm here for it.
Called From the Depths.
Of the oceans on Earth that burned away thousands of years ago?
Shh, it's fine. The Carcharodon library clouds the minds of its adversary with a choking mental darkness, amplifying their fear and surprise so that it paralyzes them. Their minds writhe with the images of watery depths of numbing cold and withering shapes, leaving them vulnerable to assault. Very cool. That's that.
It's
Well,
kind of neat. I like how they really have that water predator aesthetic.
But they don't say shark.
No,
Yeah,
says oceanic predator.
We want to be vague.
who's
we like to
I
be,
mean, their symbol.
we like to be subtle.
We like to have hidden meaning in what we do.
We like the reader to look into.
all right.
You know, hold on. You know the endless spells models they have for
Yeah.
Age of Sigmar, yeah.
They have that like maw.
Ooh.
That would be sweet to model it
That would be cool.
as like a Carcharodon.
I don't think I know this
Cat.
maw. I know the sun, and I know the.
There's a
I know
lot.
the axe, and I know the fire.
Yeah,
but
all the different like races have their own unique set, and then they have like some general ones. I don't know a lot about AOS to be honest. I don't play it, but
Yeah.
I do remember this maw and Merc. Yeah.
oh, that one.
Yeah. Can you imagine?
Yeah,
That would be sweet.
I've definitely played with that one.
You've even played with it.
Yeah. I was definitely thinking more of an animal and less of a fiery entity with teeth. Fiery blob with teeth.
I mean, it depends how you
technically.
paint it, right?
Yeah.
You could
You
slap
paint that
like
bitch
a,
gray, and boom, it's a shark.
or you could just stick a shark toy on the end of it.
Okay. So I didn't choose a character. I chose the flagship of the Carcharodons, Nicor.
Okay.
So the Nicor was a Carcharodon's notorious flagship during the Badab War and serves as the chapter's mobile fortress monastery. The Nicor was a relic of ancient heritage, identified its make as a heavily modified, they give you some crazy word.
Charybdis.
Charybdis. You should never put a B and a D and a Y beside each other. That's all I'm saying. But it was a grand cruiser of the Great Crusade and Horus Heresy era. The Nicor is slightly smaller than the traditional battle barges of the more conventional Space Marine chapters, but if the records are to believe, the ship is both swift and lethal. The ship includes all your standard goodies, such as weapons batteries, macro battery, broadsides, torpedo tubes, etc. But what makes this ship really special is the plasma destructor and enhanced teleporterium.
I feel like we mentioned something about this like 40 minutes ago, where you were like, "Just wait till you see how they get there."
Yeah. Oh, well, okay, I'll talk about the teleporterium first then. So as for the
okay.
teleporterium, if the blueprints of this archaeotech device are accurate, these teleporters would be able to teleport a whole battle company at once. They could do so with the degree of accuracy almost unheard of. So
And that makes their swift assaults insane.
100 Terminators just appear? Yeah, that's fucked.
Yeah. Goodbye.
Yeah. So that's nice. In regards to the plasma destructor, 2 tech priests spent 3 solar months in supplication and prayer amongst the cogitator stacks of the fleet archives, and determined that such a weapon, though short range, could exceed the sheer destructive power of the bombardment cannon's magma bombs.
So it took 2 tech priests 3 months to like go over code and
Yeah, and be like-
rub the sacred oils
Yeah.
in and burn incense to be like, hey, yeah, it is kind of powerful, isn't it? This thing actually could do a lot of damage.
Eric, you should be a tech priest.
Yeah, that's a sweet gun. So it's like super close range. So they just fly right up.
Well,
and
it makes
just-
like they harpoon.
Yeah.
They get this ship stationary, and then what? They just unload this massive.
So then they don't have to
gun
pull
through
the
ship.
chains back.
the poor slaves' backs.
Oh.
Save them. So all in all, it's a pretty like badass ship for their lifestyle. You know.
Yeah, I
It's-
like the
it's
sacrifice.
fast,
I
it's-
like the sacrifice of size for speed.
Yeah, it's fast and deadly. It's not as armored, but it has like super enhanced like void shield generators to make up for that little bit of lack. So
Right.
it can still go toe to toe with other like heavy armored
Other battle
ships,
barges
you
and
know?
stuff, yeah. I like it.
And the other cool thing is, yeah, like most of their fleet, this thing has been around pretty much forever.
Tell that to Tay Kahurangi. He's been around forever. Okay,
Pour one out for time.
for the boys.
Wait, he's still alive. Don't pour it out.
All right,
for Tay Kahurangi. Oh, he is alive. That was
Yeah.
a mistake. I take it back.
he did.
You just killed him.
Oh no.
Up next, we got Peter. Who are you going to share with us?
Peter,
All right,
share with us.
I went with Tiberos, the Red Wake. So he is the presumed Carcharodon commander in the Badab War, and he speaks only in a whisper.
See, that's not so bad. Why are
That's
people
how
complaining about my
serious.
mumbling?
When did his name change from Edgelord to Shadelord?
The original. He is never seen out of his archaic Terminator armor. And at one point, his face is exposed. He looks to me like Darth Vader with his helmet off.
In episode 6.
How like pale he is. He's got the black eyes. And his skull is like exposed in like this gray white. And he's known for being a fast, efficient, brutal killer. He's really like a tactical serial killer, I think. He just has no emotion and is just running around, just like from a horror movie, really, just murdering people. And he has these awesome. That's a crazy picture of his face. Face. Looking all messed up.
I think that was fan art, though. To be fair.
Yeah.
And he has his ancient gauntlets. So he's got these power weapons that he named Hunger and Slake. And so they're made with barbed power blades shaped in a mouth like teeth. And the adepts of Mars had never seen anything like it. So it's probably the coolest thing he's got going on.
Lightning claws with chain fists underneath.
Yeah.
Now,
so when you grab, they just get rended. Like,
correct me if I'm wrong, but like Hunger and Slake, I feel like those are not actually that connected. I feel like it should either be hunger or thirst or feed and slake.
Yeah, well, that's Hunger and Slake. I'm hungry,
and
I'm going to attack you with the left hand.
But you don't slake your hunger.
And then I slake.
You slake your thirst and you feed your hunger.
I would not be talking bad.
Okay, you know what? Fair. I'm not going to ask Tyberos.
Hey man, your naming convention is kind of
messed up.
Actually, Tyberos, you named your gauntlets wrong.
He could just drop in here right now
with
behind you.
100 guys
And
in this room.
You're just
100 Marines.
You're just going to hear that whisper.
And it's going to be in high Gothic. I'm not even going to understand it.
The hunger. Ye slake.
Yeah.
And you're gone.
I like the hooks on the end of his thunder claws. You don't
Thunder claw.
lightning claws. I forget.
It's got a lot going on.
Yeah.
You've got the claws
On a
and
power
you've got-
fist with a chain on it.
You got the teeth underneath,
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
and it's a lot.
it's a lot. It's a whole thing.
Now, we recently talked about Moloch,
Yeah.
the leader of the Minotaur,
Yeah.
and I feel like these guys share some similarities.
Yeah, like for example, see in this picture here, he's actually really tall, so he's a custode, this guy.
Yeah.
Tiberius
Well, he
the
must be
Red
a
Wake.
Well, let's not
custodian.
get into
Tiberius
the
the Red Wake is
Yeah.
actually
Is there
a
any
custode.
other reason why he would be tall, if not for being a custodian?
Just that's the only reason possible.
Yeah.
The only possible.
That's all I see too.
Okay.
But I was more referring to the fact that like they are never out of their armor. They are cold tacticians.
Yeah.
They're actually both very quiet.
Yeah, exactly. They are very quiet.
All right, who wins in a fight?
That has been pitched multiple
Yeah.
times. Obviously, because the Minotaur's chapter master is a custodian, he would obviously win.
Yeah, but
So is him.
Well,
is he.
so is
Oh, no.
Tyberos.
Oh,
yeah.
I mean, they have the same.
they're both tall.
Yeah, they have the same amount of evidence pointing towards them being custodies, in my opinion. In my humble lore master opinion. Where I'm never wrong about things.
Yeah.
So. Thank you for sharing Tyberos, the Red Wake.
Yeah.
You're welcome.
Chill just went up my spine.
Let's. Oh,
I didn't pick one.
okay.
Because I didn't do my homework. But with a quick search of the Googles, I was able to find one.
All right, what are you sharing with us?
All right. So to be fair, a lot of the named characters don't have a lot on them.
They're kind of just mentioned in passing in the novels
Yeah,
and stuff.
and even with this guy, he had the biggest paragraph of not much information. But the only reason I picked him is interesting. So his name is Baelshar. He's a member of the Space Shark chapter. He's born as Caderic, so his name was changed. Grandson of the Guildmistress on the mining world of Zartak.
Oh,
So he's actually
Zartak.
from
Zartakian.
Zartak. Yeah.
He's-
Zotonian.
Sorry, he was Grand
grandson of the guild mistress on the mining world.
So it's
Oh, okay.
they do mention like the governor. If
Yeah.
that is the same person as this guild mistress, they actually saved him from prison. Then,
yeah.
Yeah. So
if that
fairly
is the same.
high, like prestigious background. It's interesting too that he changed his name. And he's the current master of the third company of the chapter,
Does he have a special title?
Reaper Prime.
Oh, Red Tithe.
So being a former member of the Red Tithe.
He's like, I know exactly how Red Tithe go down. Trust me.
I know just how to take everyone.
And he's overseen the third since the 9th century of the 41st millennium, after Master Akia was killed fighting Xenos.
Very cool.
And he wears Mark III pattern power armor.
Nice.
And he
That's
looks-
old.
Yeah.
He's got like
Is that heresy? Like that
There's
was
a
around
there's
during
an
the Great
official
Crusade,
picture of
wasn't
him,
it?
yeah.
Wow.
If Mark wants to pull up his picture.
What was his name? Bale.
Bale Shar. Sharr. Huh.
Bullshit.
Look, listen. We'll get there. We'll get there.
Maybe try Carcharodon.
Okay.
Oh my god.
Oh, yeah,
Okay.
it's right there. I just saw him. Go back. Go back.
There is no back.
Go back.
There's only forward.
I'm not gonna lie. We're struggling on the TV today, apparently.
There he is. Look at him.
Yeah. And you can see he has like that custom kind of chain axe thing going on.
Oh, I've seen that piece of artwork before.
Yeah.
Yeah. Very
So-
cool.
Yeah.
Very neat. Well, thank you for sharing, Bale Shar, Reaper Prime, Chris.
Lexicanum. Thank
Yeah,
you.
thank you, Lexicanum. I think that's it for the Carcharodons.
Yeah.
So now, let's do what we do best.
And fight each other.
Have half-developed
Half-baked
ideas where we that you
adamantly
dig in.
defend.
Yes,
Like,
for no
whatever the
good
cause.
reason.
no reason whatsoever.
Christian, you will be taking the position of.
Yeah.
Yeah, so let's get into some Tales of the Warp stuff. Mark, you want to kick us off here?
Okay, so let's talk about Gene Seed Origin. You guys know how much I love talking Gene Seed Origin, and believe it or not, this one might suffer from Chimeric Gene Seed. Yay, another chapter, Chimeric.
It's my favorite.
No, you dickheads, it's Raven Guard Gene Seed. So just fucking drop it, okay? It's not Night Lords.
All right. Why do people think
Okay,
they are?
so
Chimeric?
the main reason that I could determine was so the Ashen Claws. We'll go back to them. We've mentioned them before. So the Ashen Claws were formerly a Raven Guard Legion 18th chapter and had despaired at chaos engulfing the galaxy. They turned against both the Imperium and the forces of chaos, unleashing devastation on the Light Lords and their homeworld, their home sector of Nostromo. Afterward, they had slipped away, disappearing from both Imperial space and records. But they show up time and time again, and they are very much still active. So the Carcharodons only deal with their renegade brethren in the most dire of circumstances, especially when their own numbers have grown too thin to be replenished by the Red Tithes. So the Raven Guard, they had a chapter of the Ashen Claws. They kind of
it was
went
their
on their
18th
own way.
battle company.
Yeah, but they have a history of showing up and kind of defending sometimes the Imperium, especially when it involves Raven Guard chapters or chapter successors. So
They are renegades. They don't
are.
necessarily work for the Imperium, but they also fight chaos.
Yeah.
And they will protect some people.
yeah. So when the Carcharodons really absolutely last resort need more Gene Seed, they will go to the Ashen Claws and they will get them from the Ashen Claws, who have Raven Guard Gene Seed.
Right.
Now, there's stories of the Ashen Claws who they have taken World Eater and Night Lord Gene Seed and incorporated into their own Gene Seed.
So there
Is that two
yeah.
guys in the chapter and all
Sure.
the others are still Raven Guard? Probably.
Yeah. But
So-
it could lead people to believe that because the Ashen Claws have some kind of chimeric gene seed, then as soon as the Carcharodons
Yeah.
get some,
Yeah.
they instantly have it now.
Yeah, but like I said, like how much did they take one recruit from them? Like how often do they then continue to use that Gene Seed? Probably because they will, but I don't know. It's one of those things where there's no real reason for them to be Night Lords except because
Because
and
makes
that is
them
literally
cool.
the only noise they make when they read Chimeric Gene Seed, like this sexual giggling. You know, it just makes them frisky.
May I giggle sexually?
You may.
We will allow it.
I will take the
once.
opposing position.
Yeah.
So apparently, and this is something I just Googled because I'm looking for the opposing position because I didn't have a firm position myself until now.
Yeah.
And I will fight to the death to defend it.
Now that I know what you are, Mark, I know what I am.
I'm on the opposite side. During the Red Tithe book, Tay Kahurangi, Sheridith. Hold on, I gotta read quick.
Oh yeah, so this
the entire
guy,
book. Give me like 10 minutes.
So this guy at one point he calls a bunch of Ashen Claws or something like wayward traitors. Or
Yes,
something.
traitor. No, he says the words traitor-born, scum, implying that they're. Now, I mean, could you use that phrase to hinge an entire argument on? You know, who knows? But
It's just
the
one
idea of
person's
being,
perspective.
Yeah.
Sure, yeah, and even like saying a phrase like traitor-born, like do you like when someone calls you a son of a bitch? Do they literally mean you are of dog breed?
What are you saying? You are of dog breed.
Right.
Someone like translates all these idioms and curses into like literal translation. You dog breed person.
Yeah. So I'm not going to take a firm position on one half-cocked saying, but I will die again to defend this point.
The title of Shade Lord, correct me if I'm wrong,
Yeah.
but that comes from the Raven Guard 18th Company, doesn't it?
Yeah,
It
and
comes
Ashen
from the
Claws,
Ashen Claws.
yeah.
So I think one of the ideas is that when the Ravenclaw Ashen wow
Claws.
Yeah.
Ravens.
Sharks. Sharknadoes. When the Ashen Claws refused to like go back to the Raven Guard and kind of like separated themselves from the Raven Guard, if that was like the period of their edict of exile, why would you think that they aren't like they come from they have the Shade Lord, they have this connection to them, they do go back to them. What's your reason for saying that they aren't using like the chimeric gene seed? Is it just
Okay,
the,
so,
you just don't-
so here's how I think it all in my head. So they come from the Ashen Lords. The Edicts of Exile is actually them pretty much banishing themselves from the Imperium. So
does it sound like a portion of the Ashen
yeah,
Claws
yeah,
broke
yeah.
away?
Exactly. That's what I like to think, or like because chapters back in the Horus Heresy could be thousands strong, right?
Hundreds
So,
of thousands.
yeah, that's a little excessive, but let's not get carried away. But so I like to think they made themselves Zen, that's that. And then, yeah, sure, they still have dealings with them and
Through
whatever.
But that
like,
it's like a forgotten history.
exactly. And it's
right?
like, they're not getting all their recruits from the Ashen Claws, that they're getting so many recruits from them that the Night Lords and World Eater Gene Seed is like seeping into the Carcharodons in any meaningful way. Like,
Right.
they just don't recruit in that method because they do the Red Tithe.
Right.
There
are two things that, or I guess three things that we constantly mention, but we haven't talked about, and that is the Wandering Ancestors, the Forgotten One,
Yeah.
and the Edicts of Exile.
Yeah.
So the Emperor is Rangu,
Yeah.
and he is the father of the Forgotten One. Now, I am pretty convinced that means the Forgotten One is their Primarch.
Yeah, and the Wandering Ancestors is the Ashen.
Or the Ashen Claws, or the people that left the Ashen Claws, because you were like, oh,
Yeah.
what if they left them?
Yeah.
And, they abandoned their brothers and their old oaths,
Yeah.
and that could be why they exiled themselves, and now they stay outside waiting for Korax is
Yeah.
his name?
Yeah.
Okay.
There you go. You
Waiting
did
for
it.
Korax to come back and kind of absolve them of the sin of like leaving the Raven Guard.
Yeah, leaving the Imperium, essentially. even.
Yeah. So they while the Carcharodons themselves are loyal,
Yeah.
like they've come from bad, like a
Yeah.
renegade chapter.
Yeah.
Which to the Imperium, that's like
It's
you're
bad
not
enough to be
you're
bad.
not loyal.
Yeah.
So I like to think that like the Edicts of Exile are when they left.
Yeah.
They kind of split themselves off, and they're just waiting for Korax to come back and welcome them, forgive them. Essentially.
Yeah, and like after 10,000 years too, I don't even think they know it's
No,
Korax,
of course.
like-
I don't think so.
Yeah.
I think they're just as in the dark, and it's just turned into like their own mythos
Yeah.
and their own like culture that they teach and talk. Like
Yeah.
Tay Kahurangi, like he shares the story of how he's only 3 generations removed from the Wandering Ancestors, and therefore over
changes
8,000 years old.
It changes every time he tells it too.
Right, but
yeah.
wouldn't he know to
Yeah,
have a better
exactly.
idea? Exactly. So he either
should
can't be
know
that
if
old
he's that
or you're
old.
wrong. You got to pick one. Eric and Mark now fight.
Okay, so Which one?
Mark's
Where are
our
you?
battle is going to take entirely place in our minds.
Oh.
Well, I'm satisfied with that conclusion. Were you
Yeah,
satisfied?
yeah.
All right. Well, moving on, I guess.
Okay, so that's why I think that the Night Lords
Yeah.
and World Eater Gene Seed doesn't really matter.
Sure. It just seems, the scale just doesn't seem large enough for
Yeah.
them to be like, oh, half of our gene seed is Night Lords.
Exactly, for it to make a difference.
They do their own Red
Tithe.
Tithe. They obviously have their own gene seed tithe vaults. They only go to the Ashen Claws in times of dire straits because they don't want to engage with a renegade chapter if they can afford to avoid it. So
Yeah, exactly.
I agree that I think the idea of that chimeric gene seed is a little bleh.
You can get it behind it with the Minotaurs, but not with them. These guys, it's just so clear in my mind. Anyways.
Any other takes on gene seed, Christian? Did you finish reading the book?
Okay. Forgotten ones.
Yes.
Night Lords.
Why?
Conrad Kurz.
Why?
Emperor's still the father, right?
Yeah.
Conrad Kurz is the forgotten Primarch. Night Lords are like the ancestors that they broke from.
So you're saying they are just from Night Lord?
I'm not saying anything.
Okay, so let's suppose.
I'm
that
not
they-
saying anything. I'm letting the evidence speak for itself.
You're just
What
you've
evidence?
literally just supposed. Suppose with me
hypothetically.
that there was evidence for this. I'm only letting the evidence speak. If you say the Night Lord,
I don't say anything. I'm just looking for a fight. I do agree with Mark, but
Yeah,
someone has to
I think that
play
makes
devil's
it
advocate.
makes the most sense.
Yeah.
Yeah, it fits pretty smoothly.
I was reading more too about like the author, because they have the Carcharodons have a couple books. So the author says like, yeah, I know what they are, and like you'd be surprised.
Oh my
and it's just like, okay, fuck off, bud. Like
Nerds are gonna lose their minds.
exactly,
over
and that's
that
all
shit,
this
too.
is.
Like, he
yeah.
knows what it is, but he won't tell us.
Watch him write another book and then flat out say they're Night Lords.
Just
For no reason. And then he's just going to say, the evidence spoke for itself.
yeah,
Cool. I have another question.
yeah.
Why would they choose to not inhabit Utheka, and why would they remain their fleet-based chapter?
Yeah, just 10,000 years of tradition. They're still in exile. Their Primarch hasn't come back yet.
What do we do with this planet?
What do we do with this planet?
Just put it with the other ones.
Do you think they do anything with it at all, or is it just like they've left it? If they laid a claim to it, what do you think they would do with it?
It's a vacation property.
They rent it
there
out
if
when they're
they need
away,
it.
and then they go in and use it.
Yeah,
When they
it's an
need to.
Airbnb planet. That's right.
That's not bad.
I like the idea that they don't feel like they deserve the planet. They're still in exile. They haven't been absolved of like their sin or
Little
whatever it is.
self-flagellation there. Yeah.
Well, I mean, we have mentioned before that it's a self-imposed exile. Like they view themselves as deserving to be.
Cast out.
But also,
Yeah,
they don't.
a fleet-based.
Do they know why they exiled themselves?
No idea.
No, and so
Like, how can it ever end?
yeah,
It never ends, right?
Well, it might never, but I mean that's 40K, bitch. Like, it never
Things might
ends.
never get better.
Yeah. In fact, most likely
It's gonna get worse.
Yes. You're gonna get exiled further out of the galaxy.
I just don't know if that's like their motivation behind not using the planet, because they take whatever they need.
Yeah, it's
right?
not like they don't feel like, oh, I don't deserve your fortress monastery.
Right,
I'll take
exactly.
that.
Yeah.
Yeah. I just think it's just a practical thing. Like, we roam. We're nomads. Like, if someone bought, like, someone who had a nomadic lifestyle, a house, well, they choose to be nomads.
Sure, that
They're
doesn't
like,
necessarily mean they would go.
or they
into
don't want
Yeah.
it, right? They're just like, oh, cool, thanks. I'm still gonna go, right? Like,
Yeah.
I like to imagine that they farm Utheka for people.
People farm.
The best kind of farm.
My God.
Since they are fleet based, why do you think we don't see more of them spread throughout the galaxy?
Why do you think that? Well, that we don't see a lot of them?
I like the idea that they're very particular with their targets. And that, like, I think a lot of Space Marines are willing to answer the call out of a sense of, like, duty and honor. And even if it's, like, a losing battle, they might not care.
I see what you're saying.
Or they just feel obligated to do this thing or to be present. But the Carcharodons, and I like the scene of them outside of the galaxy.
Yeah.
And they have their fleet. and maybe they're receiving transmissions every once in a while through their astropathic choir or whatever, but they're just circling.
And there's a
they're
couple
just waiting.
fleets too, because they might separate.
Absolutely.
They have the ability to do that.
They might separate into 10 fleets, but they're all
circling.
outside. They're outside the galaxy, and they're just waiting. And they're waiting, and they're looking, and they're assessing. And it's the same thing that they do in battle, just on that macro scale.
Yeah, they're like probing and.
Yeah, I think that's why we don't see a lot of them there. Is that it just doesn't fit, like who they are, and who they are is just very targeted, very precise, waiting to unleash their savageness. And that doesn't work if they do it every day.
There's probably even battles too that they go to and like no one even knows that they were there because all they left was the red mist.
Exactly. Yeah, they just leave bodies behind them.
Yeah, you don't see them because they don't want to be seen, right?
They don't want to talk to you.
Yeah, they're actively trying to avoid you.
Yeah.
That'd be kind of cool if there's like reports of like an orc battle fleet that's just disintegrated that someone stumbles across.
Witnesses say they seen bite marks in the space hulks.
Witnesses say there was a harpoon fired.
Well, how do you think the like size of them compares to other chapters? Like it seems like at times they're running short on their army or they're needing help.
We have examples of them
that they didn't even
that.
have enough to do a Red Tithe and collect everyone. So, like, is it almost like they're like teetering on the edge at times of being in serious trouble?
Almost like the shark population.
This is all just a political like
Save the sharks.
I've never really thought about that, but I like that. I like the idea that they aren't necessarily at full strength, and they might have not been at full strength for a long time, and maybe they're teetering on like, we now just have enough to participate in something, and if we lose 5-6 Marines, now it's like not worth it. It's too dangerous for us to go
because
out.
everything they have is so ancient.
Yeah.
It's always in need of repairs. Like I do think there's that interesting kind of tension of like, oh man, like we're always in trouble here. Like,
Which is
we're just barely getting by.
Reverse of like the Minotaurs, who are always well funded, well supplied,
Right.
have all the bodies they need. They don't care. Whereas these guys are a lot more careful.
Yeah, and maybe that even speaks to the fact that they feel the necessity for looting and like taking things because maybe what they're having access to isn't that great. So they're constantly trying to upgrade themselves. Okay,
Your Red Tithe is we have to take everyone.
Yeah.
I think I can really get on board with the idea of a perpetually understrengthed chapter in this.
Yeah. I was not able to find any specifics on chapter numbers, but the Carcharodon fleet, though extensive, is inconsistent. So, but they do have like a large fleet, and
part of that is just due to the fact that A, it's so old, and B, they don't engage often.
Yeah. With its line and battle ships are numerous examples of either very ancient, salvage, or extensively repaired vessels. Yeah. But yeah, they have a huge fleet for sure, but we don't know how many guys there are. But I like what you guys are saying. Yeah.
I mean, I like the idea of a huge fleet, and then we need billions of people to crew this
Right,
fleet.
exactly. Understaffed. You don't have as many warriors as you'd want. And...
Yep.
Okay. So they are a savage, tactical, mercifully cold, but understrength chapter with cool tech, but not a lot of it, and some of it might not be in the best repair. Constantly making shady deals with some renegades.
That sounds like desperation to me.
Yeah. It definitely
You wouldn't
does.
have to go to like the heretics if you had
Yeah.
You wouldn't risk tainting yourself, right?
Yeah.
Or your
Okay.
reputation.
I like it.
Peter's onto something. He's a good sharkologist.
We brought him here for his shark knowledge. Cool. And then the last thing I have on here, Mark, which I think is your favorite topic of all.
Yeah, so Primaris Marines. Yeah, what do we think? Do we want some like great white sharks or something?
They went from bull sharks to great white.
Yeah, exactly. Like what do we
Hammerhead?
Yeah, what is the Primaris theme?
Part of the ship, part of the crew. Yeah. Do they get Primaris?
Yeah, they've gotten Primaris. There's this sweet article I was reading on the community site It was from 2018. It was a guy who made a bunch of Primaris Marines, and he's like, "Yeah,
he-
I'm really excited."
He was
with
doing his Phobos, right?
Yeah. Really excited to add them. So yeah, they get them. They get their reinforcements. Probably they have them less than everybody else. I'd imagine, just due to all like the supply stuff we've been talking about. But
Do we think that they don't care about Primaris, or they willingly accept it? Do they view it with any skepticism? What do we think?
yeah, like
They're not a super codex compliant thing. They kind of do their own thing.
But they seem pretty stuck on tradition. It seems to be a very strong theme.
Yeah, they
so-
have it was called like an unbelievable loyalty or something to the
Yeah.
Imperium.
But then if they
no
receive
reason to deny the Primaris,
right, exactly.
I
If they
think.
receive them as like an order from Terra or the Emperor's will, then sure, maybe they accept
Yeah.
them. But on the other hand, they're like very reclusive, so they're like, we suddenly have a bunch of new guys who don't know anything,
don't know about our
how we
history and our
operate.
culture. Yeah.
also they're on the outside of the galaxy, even just getting recruits there. How like there's tons of chapters.
We're just
that
gonna
haven't-
fire some Primaris up into space.
Yeah, I don't know. Like
What was that? Was that not their goal? They just shot every
Direction.
Yeah, and they're like, "We'll get it.
You
we'll
get Primaris.
someone."
You get Primaris.
They just have to wait on Mars for them to come by.
For initially, yeah, they had to wait for the Gray Shields, but yeah, I like the idea that they might not accept the Gray Shields fully, but I think when they have their own technology and understanding of how to make the Primaris,
Yeah.
I don't see any reason why they would say no, or like
Yeah.
they have no doctrinal reason to
Yeah.
avoid the Primaris or anything like that. So
yeah, I would say they wouldn't be opposed to it.
yeah.
But they wouldn't be the first ones to have it, and they probably wouldn't have a lot of it right now. Mm-hmm. That would be my stance. Yeah.
I just think for the Carcharodons, really a missed opportunity aesthetically.
Uh-huh.
I think if they just had more of like those Eldar style giant helmets that really fit with that shark head kind of theme. You paint that up
Cool,
nice.
okay.
Got a nice shark dome going.
I can convert that. I'll make that happen.
You just chop off like the like that
Eldar
curvy thing
Yeah,
on the
get rid of
Eldar.
the
It's
hair
just a
at the
fit.
top and any of that.
Oh wow. Well, before we actually wrap up the episode itself,
Yeah.
let's thank all of our new Imperial Tithers, and we have a lot to go through, so please save your applause until the end of the list. Thank you to Tyler, Chris, Mustafa, Adam, He-Man Lady H8, Dylan, Zach, Firecube, Alexander, Dine, Justin, Doc the Outlaw, John, Scott, Sergio, Empty Illusion, Luculum, Cash, Osoyek, Papa Randy, Path, Gavin, Daniel, Saul, Sarah, Brain, Warzone Wally, Aurora.x, Agrin, Matthew, Shane, Juho, Connor, Grey Knight 1971.
Damn it! He mentioned Grey Knights in this episode.
He did it.
got
No,
away
this
with
is
it.
gray with an A and not an E.
Oh.
Doesn't count.
Have you guys ever heard of Grey Knights?
It's that easy.
Jaren, Marcus, Hins, Andrew, Tiberiu, Andre, Matthew, Trevor, Laughing Forest, James, Ian, Coonerbus. It sounds so sexual, but I don't even know if it is. But get that Coonerbus.
He's like listening. That's my real name.
I'm sorry. Brad, Alex, Mark, Ricardo, LOL, Santa, Visconti, Fabian, Gaffic,
Fuck.
or Gafak, yeah. I Can't Read, Saint Tattoo, Andre, Charlie, and Amp. Thank
Nice.
you so much, guys,
Thank
for
you.
contributing to our Patreon and being a part of Lorehammer.
holy
Make sure
moly.
you all join us on our Discord and
Yeah.
start participating in our contests.
But before you do that, go on Instagram. Type in Henry Cavill. Send that man a message.
Realistically, how many people do we actually think need to message Henry Cavill before we at least get a message back?
Like, I'm going to say at least all. So, like,
Yeah.
just to be safe, all.
And what do we think, like, is the message back, hey, I would love to be on the show, or please stop texting me? What do we think?
Yeah, it's gonna definitely.
I think it's
be
like
that.
80-30. 80% chance that he's like, please stop.
We're met with
Cease
lawsuits.
and desist.
Yeah,
and
30% chance that he's like, hey, I would love to be on
I'll
the
take
show.
that 30% chance and
Yeah.
I'll run with it.
And a 5% chance that we just get gobbledygook back.
Okay. Also, what other celebrities do we want? Now that we're harassing people
Yeah,
to come
yeah.
on our show,
Let's just
Danny
harass
DeVito.
anyone.
I've always liked
Oh
him.
my god.
Just random stars have no association with Warhammer.
So anyways, I started blasting. Danny DeVito, are you aware that your character has been made into a meme in the Necron community? Oh man.
Oh, what a world.
Danny
this is.
DeVito, that would be phenomenal.
You listen, Danny.
Can I call you Danny?
I'm gonna call you Danny. Don't call me. I'm gonna call you Danny. Anyways, thank you, Peter, for joining us.
Anytime.
Thank you, Christian, for being on your very last episode.
Anytime.
Well, this is your last one. So.
Speak up. I didn't hear that.
Mark, always a pleasure.
Eric.
Sometimes a pleasure.
Yep.
Checks out. The math works. Yeah. To all of our listeners, thank you for joining us on this journey through space, the sea of stars, into the maw of the Carcharodon Astra. Next episode, Mark, you can say it, and then we get to guess: is it a lie or is it truth? What's the next episode?
Okay. Well, it's gonna be Tempestus Scions.
Tempestus Scions. You heard it here first. Is it a lie? Is it
it the
truth?
truth?
Let us know
Place
on the
your
Discord.
bets in the Discord.
Yeah, let us know. And we'll see you all next time.
See ya. Thanks.